They often say that the Nürburgring's been tamed ever since they added this new circuit in the 1980s, but even though some might say the track might be tame, the action today surely won't be. We have a championship favourite who's ahead of the competition, but behind that, there's 3 teams separated by about 10 points, ready to do battle, and the next 3 hours of racing, they're going to be fast, they're going to be hard fought, and at the end of it, we will know who will be your 2017 Blancpain GT Series champion. Qualifying is underway, and our coverage will start next here on RaceSpotTV.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
For the final time this season, welcome to the Blancpain GT Series and welcome to the Nürburgring that gained notoriety through being called the Green Hell throughout the early years of Formula 1 and GT racing. Today, as we said, the track in some ways has been tamed. You can still run on the very long, hard track known as the Nordschleife, but today we focus our efforts here in the Blancpain GT Series on the newer track for 3 hours worth of racing. It's Will Vincent along with Randy Chernoff, Jake Sperry and Paul Smith, and well, heading into this final round of the championship, Paul, we've got ourselves one team ahead of the others, but then second, third and fourth is very, very close.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you look at that, the second, third and fourth, only 3 points covering them. NX Racing Blue, NX Racing Red and VRS Panda SimSport. Like I say, 3 points between them. It's going to be a fascinating battle between those guys, but Core Sim Racing Orange, not only have they dominated the championship, they've just dominated their first lap of qualifying.
Indeed so. They have headed themselves to the top of the timing screen. Freddie Rasmussen then 148.539. Get that, Jake. That is a total of 7/10 of a second faster than anyone else out there right now.
And the thing for Core Sim Racing Orange here in this situation is that they're going for the clean sweep of pole positions this season. They've got 5 out of 5 so far, and 7/10 of a second looks to claim that they can get the 6th qualifying underway. Of course, they got 3 laps and a quarter of an hour to make that happen, so there's another 10 minutes and under to make everything work. But, Will, there is one more important thing, though, about today. Look at the track conditions. It's 19 degrees on the road. It is freezingly cold, and it's going to be a major challenge in the opening stages.
Yeah, look at that. Air temp, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's humid out there as well, 47%. Overcast, wind speeds of 14 kilometers an hour. And, Randy, we think about now, but we also think about the start of the race. Sector number 1 here, very tight, very twisty for those first 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. It could well prove havoc, and actually you want to start out front to avoid the melee.
Always, I mean, turn 1 at the Nürburgring GP track is one of the biggest talking points in motor racing. Always a dangerous segment of the racetrack. Is expanding on that weather. What that means for those who may be unaware is we can expect 2 things. These cars are going to be running the fastest lap times they probably have in all their practice all week, and these tires are probably going to be lasting the longest of any of the testing the teams have done, any testing in any of those conditions. So I would expect very quick lap times today, and I would expect for sure at least a double stint. Someone might try to push these tires to go all 3.
Having a look at Heinz-Veld Core Motorsports, Angela and Michael. We saw a very slow outlap there by Core Sim Racing Orange, Randy. They're still going very, very slowly, and that's partially to preserve the tires, but actually you do want to get some brake temp in there as well.
You need to get your brake temp up, and like you said, one of the big things on these qualifying laps is preserving the tires. I mean, let's be real, Frederick Rasmussen, he just went 7/10 quicker than anybody. I don't mind him going around at a leisurely pace for the outlap.
Yeah, I mean, let's just have a look at how slowly it is, Jake. At 48 miles an hour right now on the exit of the Michael Schumacher S. I mean, we talk about
like
slow.
Watching paint dry.
Yeah, it is almost that bad. But Jake, I mean, the thing is, they got the first lap. Now they're going to have a bit of fun for the second lap, I'd argue.
Yes, they have set the marker down and nobody's really come close. Of course, Core Sim Racing are a German-based team, so there is that element of familiarity that they have at the Nürburgring. But that's the thing. Nobody this season has been able to match what Frederick Rasmussen has done in that GT3, and now it's about who can match. Inex Blue title rivals Justin Brunner is only 7/10 of a second off the pace, and I say only because what Frederick Rasmussen has done is he's completely changed the game within GT3 sim racing, and he will change that game for a long time to come. No one's been close so far. They've completely decimated the field so far.
Yeah, we're on board right now with Justin Brunner on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena section through turn number 5, then back down to the track that was used pretty much ever since the inception of this GP layout, sweeping it through turns number 6 and 7. Next corner really now is going to be that long 180-degree corner down at the bottom end of the racetrack. This is turn number 8, and actually it is banked. I would actually almost say in some ways, Paul, it's a little nod to the carousel. You haven't got the 2-stage kind of banking on that corner, but it is still parabolic.
Yeah, you've definitely got the camber there that helps you around that corner. Just hug that inside line a little bit. Don't V it too much, or else you'll be slow in the mid part and you're open to attack. But yeah, certainly it is a nod to the carousel. I think you are right. I've never really thought of it like that before, Will.
We just saw iRacing Brazil team move up into 3rd, JCL Apex Racing UK up into 5th place in qualifying. We're keeping it, though, with Inex Racing Blue as they'll complete their lap. Then we'll head ourselves over to Core Sim Racing Orange. Koala Sim Sports, again, not having the best qualifying. They are currently in 14th position with their number 18 car. They are currently 15th place with their number 8 machine. Out of the final corner then comes the driver of Justin Brummer. Let's have a look then. What will he do as he comes past the start-finish line? 148.972. It's faster, but nowhere near fast enough. Let's now go over immediately on board with Core Sim Racing Orange as Freddie Rasmussen is now on his hot lap there, Jake.
Yeah, he certainly is. Rounds through the Dunlop corner. Very aggressive there on the exit, taking all the curb, maybe a little bit more, and uses all the curb again to head through the Schumacher S. That McLaren has so much power underneath the bonnet that he'll be using it to his advantage all throughout this section. On the brakes, left-hander, 90 degrees. Look to nip the curb as well as you can, and he hits it inch to perfection all the way to the left-hand side to open up this right in the run through Ad Van Bogen and the run up towards the NGK. Frederick Rasmussen's on a flyer.
We just saw Jim Racing Black up into 3rd place. Radicals and Line up into 4th place, displacing the iRacing Brazil team. Look at that, into the NGK chicane. That was on rails for Freddie Rasmussen. On the run now through the final corner. Turn number 16 towards the start-finish line. Will he go faster still? The answer to that question is going to be... oh, yes, he does. Look at that, 148.360. That team looking to be untouchable here, Randy.
And that's what they've been all season long in qualifying. We saw it 0.5 of a second earlier in this session. Now it's out to 6, and it's going to be, I think, really difficult for anyone to reel that in. I mean, that's 0.6 to second, almost a full second back to third. Frederick, what is Frederick doing that no one else is?
We don't quite know. We've just had our blink guy get a little bit confused. We're going to pick up Frost and Marston Ravana yellow now. Stefan Mushla in the number 77 machine. Evolution Racing Team up into the 10th place. Radicals Online Steel Series up into P number 12 just for the moment. Ravana yellow in that 11th position, as we say, with Stefan Mushla on board of him. Whilst we have a look on board, let's show you the championship standings as they are coming into this event. And well, Corsim Racing Orange do have the championship lead with 252 points. They would have to crash out, and Inex would have to hope things go their way if anything will happen in the championship. Inex Racing Blue, though, second place, 224 points. Inex Racing Red, 223. VRS Commander SimSports on 221. When you add in Corsim Racing Silver to that one, Paul, you have got a four-way fight for second place in the championship, especially when you remember the fact that NX Racing Red haven't qualified well so far. You've got yourself also the number 8 Commander SimSports team haven't qualified so well so far, but Corsim Racing Silver looking as though they'll start in P number 6.
Yeah, so they're all really really close between that battle. You've got Evolution Racing Team on the outskirts of that as well, but after qualifying 10th so far, they're not really. They have to have something really spectacular happen in this one to challenge those guys. But NX Racing Blue at the moment, they're doing all that they can to try and get themselves that position that they need for the end of the season. That second place would be basically the best of the rest, because quite frankly Corsim Racing Orange have been a step above everyone else. But that battle for that second place, that's going to be intriguing to watch throughout this race, and it's certainly going to be an exciting one as well.
It will be. Not many drivers are on track right now. We don't think we're going to see too many. In fact, even if you'd come out on track now, you wouldn't be able to get a set of laps in. So qualifying, for all intents and purposes, does look as though it is going to be score complete. As we'll just cycle through then the remainder of your championship results there for the 40 teams that have qualified for this series this year. As well, Jake, keys to the race. We talked about the big one already, and that's Survive lap number 1.
Survive lap number 1 is always going to be the most important factor, and especially around this circuit when you have such an expansive turn 1 where you can go 3-4 wide in towards the corner, and the fact that it bottlenecks out of pit road down to a 3 wide section. You got that long turn number 1. Mercedes-Benz Arena will be all about filing your way back into play, and then it becomes very narrow for the midsection before it opens up towards the end. Surviving is certainly one thing, and for Corsim Racing Orange, I think it's survival for them to win the championship. P25 overall will take them the title, and that includes if they crash out of the event.
Now, also worth noting, Jake, and I'm just thinking about Vendavel Sim Racing at this point. Make sure everything's tight, everything's working, because what you don't want to have happen is it all to go wrong in the final lap of the race.
Well, 4 corners to go. Vendavel Sim Racing have arguably been the unluckiest team. They lost out on the 6 hours of the Glen. They lost out on the 4 hours of the VLN that we had a few weeks ago. And arguably, they're looking to try and find some momentum. P7 is brilliant for them. They are struggling, though, in the fact they have arguably the slower vehicle in the form of the BMW. Hopefully, it is going to be something that will work in the end for them. And I think it has been a breakout year for Vendavel Sim Racing. And Vendavel Sim Racing White will look to have a very good final showing here today.
Okay, we're not going to ask about if it's going to be the championship win or not, because I think unless something happens, that will be Corsim Racing Oranges to lose. But battle for P number 2, who's going to get it then? Out the 2 NX teams, or the Corsim Racing Silver, or the VRS Commander SimSports number 8 team. Going to come to you first there, Randy.
I think that's going to be a tough one. I think the easy favorite has to be NX Racing Blue, just simply their pace and qualifying. The only other team to get into the 48s. That number 12 machine could be fast, but we know that Core can be consistent, and that Coanda Mercedes, it really hasn't qualified well all season, but yet here we are at the end of the final race, and they find themselves way up the order. They might be able to pull something out of this. Coanda is known for the strategy calls. Let's see if they can do one here today.
Jake?
Of course, in Racing Silver, I think it's a cool one too in this one. I think that the pace that they've shown has been very good. They do avoid the landmines very well. The Silver car has been the one to get involved in more incidents, and I think INX Racing Blue, for all the goodness that they've had in qualifying, it's a very difficult race to go out and do for 3 hours.
Paul.
I'm going to disagree with you and say that it's going to be INX Racing Blue that will get that second place in the championship, but Colt Sim Racing Silver will give it a valiant effort, but I think they've just got that little bit of an advantage there going into this final round.
Well, let's run through your starting grid then for this, the final round of the championship here on RaceSpotTV. And here it is then. Colt Sim Racing Orange. Frederick Rasmussen, 1 minute 48.360. Pole position for him. INX Racing Blue will start alongside on that front row of the grid, number 1, number 2 in the championship. Jim Racing Black in 3rd. Radicals Online, JRT in 4th. Note the fact they are the first BMW. Note the fact the McLarens have been the fastest in qualifying all year long. That isn't always the case in the race. iRacing Brazil team, 5th place with Colt Sim Racing Silver in 6th. Then Vendevel Sim Racing White in 7th. Triton Racing in 8th. 9th place is Hiksenveld Core Motorsports, and rounding out your top 10, JCL Apex Racing UK. We've got then the remainder of the grid showing up on your screen right now. That iRacing first safety car will pull away in just 1 moment's time for the run to the green flag here for the final round of the 2017 championship. And of course, this time last year, the driver in P number 22, Carana Sim Sports, they were about to go for championship glory. They are not going to be able to do the same this time around. Instead, we're going to have ourselves a new champion, and it is most likely going to be Colt Sim Racing Orange, who we now focus on as that pace car. Lights are off. It's a short run, actually, to the start-finish line, and that will add to the desperation of trying to get brake temps up, get tyre temps up, and make sure that you're all good to go when you come down into turn number 1. So then, it's going to be a case of 3 hours worth of racing, 180 minutes to round out the championship here in the iRacing Blancpain GT Series for 2017. Round the final corner they come, and here we go then. Green flag in the air for the final time this season. 3 hours worth of racing is underway. First question, will they all get themselves through turn number 1 on these cold tyres? The answer to that question is going to be, we've got a bit of bottlenecks. We got a Radicals car bounce around like a pinball. But apart from that, actually, we're not too bad as they come through turn number 2 for the first time. Now into turn number 3 for the first time. And while the Radicals car, the number 99 machine of Ricardo Castroledo, did take a couple of hits there, Paul, but thankfully didn't spin that car. In fact, kind of got hit back into the right place.
Yeah, it certainly was a big moment for them there. I think it was the Van Devel car that came flying down the inside. It was Juan Lopez who caused that one. Just got into the side of him late in his brakes. All able to carry on though. That's the main thing. They're all still racing in this one. In fact, we've got an instant down. It's GT Ross, I believe. We've had an instant there further down your order as they're heading down towards Dunlop.
Yeah, and as a consequence of that, they are well down your field now. Let's have a look. They are down all the way with a bit of damage in that 28th position. But out front, Frederick Rasmussen then trying to build the early advantage as they now come through to complete the first lap in about 30 seconds time. Colt Sim Racing Orange lead it from INX Racing Blue, then Jim Racing Black in 3rd, Colt Sim Racing Silver in the 4th place, and rounding out your top 5 is the Vendevel Sim Racing White team for the moment. Although just seeing there, Vendevel Sim Racing White trying to make a bit of a power move, and just ahead, Jim Racing Black over INX Racing Blue there, Randy.
Yeah, a lot of power moves getting put in on this first lap, especially on the cold tires. One of the big things with this is that people are going to have their starting pressures all over the place. If you have them a little too high, it'll be like Ayrton Senna at Donington all those years ago. You're going to be very, very quick. However, over time, you might find those tire pressures just get too high and you lose speed. That said, a lot of people trying to pick up some early spots. We've seen some early incidents already. Bit of a 2x2 action going through turn 1 in the mid-pack. There's 2 Evolution racing cars dealing with Pure and the Coenda BMW and the Coenda Mercedes. as they work themselves now through corner number 2, but a lot of aggressive action happening as Frederick Rasmussen has pretty much already walked away from the field.
Yeah, we just saw a replay of Madison Down on the Next Level Racing TTLI machine getting tagged by the Phoenix Motorsports car down into that very fast Advan Bogan corner. That spun him around, and actually as a consequence, now he's down into the 28th position of the 29 drivers who are running here today. Don't forget, live timing and scoring is available. Visit RaceSpot.tv/timing for that information, as we are riding on board with second place in X Racing Blue. But Jake, the gap already 1.7 seconds from P2 to P number 1.
Exactly in this situation, Justin Brunner's got to be careful. He's focusing on what's behind him. Dado Opakak in the Jim Racing black machine, just hounding the rear of that INX Racing machine. And when you got Lopez, Paoli, Castrolado, DeCarmo, Voss all in that train waiting to find a way through, it's a difficult time for Justin Brunner. Now look at the run that Opakak's going to get here through the right-hander. It's very strong here, the draft. He'll be able to look maybe to the inside at NGK. He will have the look later on the brakes. Brunner will let him go, look for the cutback, but he's not going to have any sort of form of a run.
And this is an interesting thing, because if you are in X Racing Blue, you've got to remember that your key thing is to make sure that you keep Corsim Racing Silver and INX Racing Red and Coanda behind you. What you can't do, Jake, is focus too much on the big battle that's going on, because actually you're in a battle for a championship, and the best thing you can do is just run your race.
Yes, you have to run your race, and for Justin Brunner, he is one of those drivers who is the thinking man. He is an Alan Prost more rather than an Ayrton Senna, to quote Randy just a few minutes ago. For Justin Brunner, he is focusing about this long game, and he won't be too fazed by the fact that he's lost position number 2 overall. A podium will be nice, but behind him, you've got Juani Lopez, who has been very aggressive in the early stages. He'll probably let him go if he gets a chance, and then he's got to deal with Maxime Paoli, and that's when we're going to see the battling go on. I do expect to see the top 3 break away if Brunner gets passed by Juani Lopez.
Keeping an eye out on some of the other championship contenders then for P number 2, and here is INX Racing Red. They've actually lost a couple of positions here early on, Paul, and they are now battling out of the Radicals Online Steel Series machine, number 17 of Alexander Mania. That was not the one that got into that incident down at turn number 1. The other Radicals machine is actually a little bit further up, now to P number 6. But INX Racing Red, a slow start there for the Mercedes, but we do know they kind of come into their own later on into a run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the long game, is this one. It's a 3-hour race, and they'll have that car set up to push on towards the middle and then the end to that stint. We have to have the car come alive. But really, at the moment, it's just sitting behind that Radicals car is the car of Jack Sedgwick in that INX Racing Red team as they go through the chicane. And this is the thing: how much of a strategy call do you make? Do you sit behind, save a little bit of fuel, or do you try and make the moves forward to try and get those positions in the race? Because at the end of the day, they need a result, so they need to push forward.
Well, out of all of them, you'd argue, actually, Randy, that it's Corsim Racing Silver that needs to really push the hardest, and they're doing that right now. They're right in that 4-car train for P2 through to, actually, we've got Radical Steel Series, turnaround, Alexander Mania. We're just talking about them, so we'll come back to this P2 battle in a moment, because there is Mania having just had an incident down. I believe this is turn 1, turn 2. Replay is up for you now.
Sedgwick.
Yeah. Oh, we talk about being aggressive. That's not the right way of being aggressive, but I think actually for the Radicals car, it was a mixture of two things. I think also they were trying to avoid a driver ahead of them, and I think that all of them just bunched up together. That was the Frostmaster car. I think they all just kind of bunched together there, and it was the lightest of hits if I saw anything. I want to get another look, actually, from on board with Jack Sedgwick, because I don't think actually that was too opportunistic a move as it first looked on my cameras. It's just the slightest of touches, Randy.
It was just enough to send that BMW around, and you are kind of right. Manea, that was actually the Movano yellow car, Stefan Mugler, that he was sort of avoiding in turn 1. There's 3 different lines going into that corner, and they all just sort of met at the same place, and the BMW, I think, had to check up a little bit more than Jack expected, just a very slight touch. But in terms of who needs to push right now, our 4th place championship contender, VRS Quinn SimSport number 8, currently running dead last on our field, 3 seconds behind that Evolution Motorsports team number 27 McLaren. So David Williams currently in the car. I don't know if they're planning on having Mitchell in for the last 2 hours or what their driver lineup and schedule looks like for today. Did they have a pit stop? That's not good for them. That's something I certainly missed. But they are way down the order early, and that's really, you can't be having that. That could be their pretty much dead in the water for trying to get further up in the standings today. Yeah, I would say they are out of the championship now, barring a miracle. Though we have seen miracles by Coanda SimSports before. Let's go back, though, to this battle that involves Core Sim Racing Silver in it. And again, they are one of the championship contenders for 2nd place right now. Those 4 teams that we've been talking about. And Core Sim Racing Silver in 5th place. They have lost a little bit of ground recently, actually, to Jake to the Venvel Sim Racing white car, who is moving forward. And now they're actually under pressure from Ricardo Castrolido, who runs himself in P6.
Yes, they do, but the big advantage, I think, in this situation that we're seeing is we're seeing quite a bit of McLaren versus BMW here at the front of the field. It's McLaren's 1, 2, 3. You look back, BMW, McLaren, BMW. So the case that's being made right now for Maxime Pauli is, yes, he has the power down the straight, so that's going to be really, really good for them. The issue that they're going to have is they're going to be under a lot of pressure during the corners, but there's enough straights to corners that Pauli can be safe just by sitting there in the position that he's at. And he knows that Juani Lopez, the moment he starts stepping out of line, trying to make moves, he can pounce in the blink of an eye. I think he's just trying to give himself that bit of leeway in case there is an incident up ahead from the drivers.
Yeah, one might argue at this stage in the motor race that Jim Racing Black being in 2nd place might start to hurt this field. And there's the graphical representation, Paul. The last 3 laps, Jim Racing Black have lost a second, 7/10 of a second, and 6/10 of a second to Core Sim Racing Orange and Freddie Rasmussen. As they come past the start-finish line, we'll get the up-to-date figure for lap number 5, another 2/3 of a second.
Yeah, it's not good, but the thing is, you look at this battle here, they're not really battling with each other, they're just keeping in line and they're working together, it looks like, but still, they've fallen back from that leader. But Jim Racing, when they made that move, in X Racing Blue, they weren't exactly closing up to that Core Sim Racing Orange car either. So,
no.
You know, it's all relative, really. Yeah, Justin Brunner may just have like the odd 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second faster in him, but in the big scheme of things, it's still not going to pull everyone up towards the leader if the leader's going 7/8 of a second faster every lap.
Yeah, indeed. So here then, after about 10 minutes worth of racing, let's see who's moved up and down in this event so far. And inside your top 10, you note the fact that Vendevel Sim Racing White are the team who's moved up the most. They are up 3 places as we ride on board with Juan E. Lopez right now. And we've been talking about him already, putting the pressure on in X Racing Blue. They have lost 1 place today. Radicals Online JRT and iRacing Brazil team each have lost 2 places, as has Triton Racing. But it's outside the top 10 that things get more interesting. PRT Red up 7 places, PRT Blue up 9 places. So they might not have qualified well here today, Jake, but they are moving forward very quickly in the event.
Yes, they are, and it's a fantastic battle between them. Maximilian Benecke and Jonas Vollmeyer are looking to push those 4 GTs through the field. Maybe they don't have the 1-lap pace, but their endurance pace certainly up there. Looking at the time that Benecke did last time was a 1:51.7. That's only 2/10 of a second slower than 2nd place at the moment in the form of Dado Opakak. So there is pace there from Pure, and it's not to be surprising. They try and make this circuit their home ground. I did expect them to be a little bit higher up, but maybe that 4 GT is not suiting the conditions that we have here today.
Don't forget, you can get social with us. Use the hashtag iRacingWCS. Tell us, don't ask us, tell us who you think will get this P2 battle in terms of the championship. Will it be one of the 2 NX teams? Will it miraculously be Coanda, or is it going to be Core Sim Racing and their silver team? As well, of course, you can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/RaceSpotTV. As we are ticking through the laps here, already lap number 7 in this event. in terms of strategy here today, Randy, the cold temperature as well as the fact that you're not full throttled all the way through here means that we shouldn't have any real issues in terms of getting to the hour mark. The question, in fact, will be, you know, how long can the drivers do for a stint and how short will that second or third stint here be? And I would argue that would actually come down to if the drivers are going to do a single stint to start or a double stint to start.
Yeah, and that's one of the big strategy discussions people have in this championship of, you know, and really even when you choose to get your quick drivers into the car, that's one of the big strategy components of this championship as well, because of course whoever qualifies has to start the race. So if you have the mindset of, well, we want to have our faster driver in for the second 2 stints, you have to do a driver swap, because that means you might have to you know, qualify a handful of positions down just with your slower driver. Granted, as close as this championship is, it's not always the best call, I don't think. But strategy is going to be interesting. I think we're going to see at least a double stint with these cooler temperatures for sure. I think some of the teams that are running really well may not risk it. For example, I think once we get an hour or 2 hours into this race, I think Fred Rasmussen is just going to be free and clear in front of the field. I expect your leaders to essentially take tires every time if they can, because this racetrack can get slick in places on the double stint. Coming up through the Michael Schumacher S is an example that can be a place that's a little bit sketchy as the rear tires start to go. So I think if for those that are running really well, you might go for a more comfortable decision, but those who need to make something miraculous happen, they might push for the double, if not even the triple.
On board with 23rd place now, Heisenfeld Core Motorsports, Angela Michael just working himself past Phil Diaz in the Inex Racing yellow machine. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we are 8 days away from World's Fastest Gamer here on RaceSpotTV. Streaming live on iRacing Live and through the McLaren Facebook page. We've seen what's already happened on Aurora, but also now it's a time for drivers to test out the McLaren MP430 and see who will be iRacing's representative to World's Fastest Gamer, joining some of the biggest names in the history of sim racing, including Gregor Hutu, who has already been given his pass into the championship, as well as Bono House. And I believe also Isaac Price is there as well, Jake. Now he won another competition to get in.
Yes, he won through which is different to the that we certainly had. But battle for P2 still hotting up as Justin Brunner now moving to the outside towards NGK. I don't think he'll make the move. He thinks of his championship as a better opportunity, and he actually gets massively checked up. So look at Wani Lopez now come back into play on the brakes into the final corner. No move, not quite happening, but yes, Isaac Price in from the Core Sim Racing team, the best value for money in sim racing, proving it, and he proved it by going through a different medium, one that nobody really looked to expect or exploit. He did well at Insomnia, he went to Berlin, he made it happen with 2 wins and a 2nd place, and I think that it is very good to see just how well iRacing has been representative inside the 10 slots.
Yeah, indeed so. So it'll be great to see what happens when World's Fastest Gamer comes to iRacing. And of course, don't forget, the next round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series will also be here at the Nürburgring, and that is where we expect to see Martin Kroenke take his 2nd championship in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Really, you would argue now the torch has been passed from Redline to Coanda, from Hutu over to Martin Kroenke. Having a look actually at the rear, and this is what I've been talking about a little bit, over the fact that maybe Jim Racing isn't the fastest of the drivers out here, because actually if you look from P2 down to P number 10 right now, they are only separated by about 4 seconds on track right now. And that actually means, Randy, that the likes of NX Racing Blue, the likes of Core Sim Racing Silver, they are going to start getting a little bit worried, because actually a dodgy pit entry, a dodgy pit exit, anything going wrong, they will lose quite a lot of positions unless this field really does start to spread out.
This sort of conditions is probably the scariest thing to race in week and week out, whether it's across the World Championship Series or even in the official servers you get on the iRacing.com service. It's just, if one driver up near the front has a hiccup, maybe through this fast chicane, through this final corner, you see Wani Lopez get a little bit of oversteer in the Vendaval BMW, just 3rd in line right there. It's just going to stack up potentially this entire line of cars. And it's one of those things where you're always anxious and you always want to get yourself out of this situation, situation because you don't want to be part of that big checkup, that big accordion effect that might cause an incident. But at the same time, everyone's so evenly paced that if you start trying to push and start trying to make a move, say if NX Racing Blue starts trying to get around Jim Racing here and they can't make it stick, suddenly they're the ones causing the accordion effect, and you have the likes of Wani Lopez and Maxime Pauly and Ricardo Castroleto hounding right behind you, and then they're going to start looking for opportunities as well.
Yeah, iRacing Brazil team look down to the inside there of Alexander Voss, got the position done. iRacing Brazil team up into 7th place. Hexenville Core Motorsports down into 8th. And yeah, we don't know what that camera angle was all about either when we saw that one live the first time. Apparently, our Helicam has the ability to go through walls now with X-ray vision. But Justin Brunner running himself in 3rd place. He's still kind of standing there, but the thing that is worth noting is that gap now to the race lead is up to 7 seconds. And again, realistically, we know this is Corsim Racing Orange's race to win, but you would still argue that you want to be that driver in second with a cushion of your own. And there's another look at the lap gap. It's lap number 8 there, actually, Paul. Dado lost a second to Corsim Racing Orange. And I'm having a look, actually, on lap number 8, Freddie did a slow lap in comparison to what he normally does.
Yeah, and you know, this is the crazy thing. But the thing is, this is because they're all battling away. As here we go, Justin Brunner again, just showing his nose. He's looking one way. Now he's going to go up to the inside of the NGK chicane. But again, getting on the brakes early. He's trying to force that mistake out of Dado, and unfortunately, it's not coming because all these drivers are, you know, some of the best drivers in the iRacing service. You know, it's going to take a lot to make somebody, one of these drivers especially, make a mistake. And Justin, he's trying everything. He's a very experienced driver. He knows he's been involved in battles throughout the years, and he's trying everything he can. And unfortunately, the car in front, being a McLaren, means it's got a similar pace as well, similar strengths and weaknesses throughout the lap. So he's really going to work hard to get that 2nd place.
Yeah, for once, the car in front isn't a Toyota, mainly because we haven't got a Toyota in this series. But AO, as we now see Justin Brunner still there, still hounding. And actually, I do think that we've got to talk a little bit about the differences between the cars here today as well, Randy. And, you know, it's actually what we've seen is it does, you know, equally suit, I would argue, both the McLaren and the Mercedes. The Mercedes, I know what I'm talking about here, but it does seem to suit the McLaren a little bit better than what we thought it would do. We thought they would drop off around now, and they haven't done so.
Nürburgring, the GP track, has actually generally been one of the stronger tracks as we get side-by-side for P2, Jim Racing and NX Racing Blue. And this is exactly what I was talking about a few minutes ago. One little mistake, bottlenecks the field. Wani Lopez going to be using that downforce on the BMW through the Michael Schumacher S's. And is Vendaval going to take a dive up the inside? No, actually, it's not a good run up to this left-hander. So because of that, he's going to have to sit in 4th. But that's going to stack up the top 5 behind your 2nd and 3rd place runners. So look for moves to happen. But in terms of BOP at this track, there's not a lot of fast corners and a lot of slows, but there's a lot of slow corners, and that's what the McLaren tends to like. And for that reason, they're very, very strong here more often than not. And you actually have some decent link straights here as well, with the front straight, of course, the long back straightaway, where the McLarens can get themselves really going up to full tilt. I'm actually really, really impressed with the likes of Vendaval and the likes of Radicals Online JRT with Wani Lopez and Ricardo Castroleto respectively. Well, I think we were expecting into this season, Will, that McLaren, that Coanda BMW, simply put, being the best BMW week race in and race out, they have not. They've really slacked this season. Vendaval and Radicals have really stepped up their game, especially through this last 2/3 of the championship.
Yeah, and as a consequence of that, I want to show that graphic we've been showing you a couple of times in this race already one more time, and let's see just exactly. I'll tell you one thing, actually. NX Racing Blue had a very bad run out of 3, but they were able to really not lose too much time because of how slow speed that section is. But there is the lap gap that last time by 1.2 seconds that Jim Racing Black et al. Lost to Core Sim Racing Orange because of how intensely they are battling. Although I think Brunner saw something that last time by into this Dunlop, comes through the corner, runs right behind him, and he does seem to be better on the power from that corner. But at that point, Jake, you're pretty much always going to be single file through the Schumacher S. You can't really go double file there in any type of car.
No, you can't, and it's so difficult to make that happen in any vehicle, so you always have to play the patience game. You can't always expect to make the moves quickly as you can, and this is what will be getting certain drivers in. The moment that you start getting bogged down, you get frustrated, but look at that frustration being shown there as Opakak trying to defend now through Advan side by side, and finally, I think we may see the move. Justin Brunner on the outside. I think he'll have to break the earliest here out of the two. Stuck on the outside, get the cutback, slow it on the entry there as they all look to check up. Now here comes Juani Lopez looking for a move, and that's not going to happen. And look at how they all accordion up. 5, 6, 7 in a train as they make their way to the front stretch. And again, Justin Brunner has all the tools, but does not have the class to make the disposal work.
Yeah, and Juani Lopez does lose a little bit of acceleration out of the final corner, Coca-Cola curve, and that does mean that he can't really pressure anyone into turn number 1 either. But look at these cars now, and this actually now goes back to, I would say, 14th place with the pink Power Racers, Paul.
Yeah, this is it. All this battling now, these last couple of laps, Justin Brunner and Dedo Opak as of their battling has held everyone up here. It's bringing others into this battle. Radical's Online Steel Series, Alexander Manea, of course, who had that little fracas at turn number 1 earlier, he's catching up to the back of this group as well. We're going to have a queue almost 16, 17 cars long shortly if they carry on like this. Little gaps in it as well. Brunner showing his nose down the inside once again. He's been flashing the headlights. To be honest, it's that overcast. I'm surprised that they haven't got the headlights on all the time.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. The last time I saw a queue this long, it was when Lidl were doing a sale on Prosecco during all this bank holiday weekend. But this is a queue right now. I wouldn't say it's a trolley train, because actually we will give credit to Jim Racing back in Dado. He is doing a good job holding off and resisting the challenge of the second place team in the championship right now. Vendeveld Sim Racing White in 4th. Doesn't seem as if they've got the straight line speed advantage. Note the fact that Brunner worked to the outside very quickly there through to Advan Bogan. This could be his chance, but no, he has to pull back in again into the NGK chicane to now try running on the inside of Advan Bogan to give him the outside of the NGK chicane. I know he tried running on the outside of Advan Bogan. Neither have worked. You would argue that this is when Indianapolis mentality has to kick in, Randy. Actually, just stay behind. You always want to lose the right amount into the chicane. And not many people understand what I mean when I say this, as we've actually now got side-by-side between iRacing Brazil and Radicals Online. Radicals Online will win that battle. But you always want to lose a little bit to gain it at the right point sometimes. And if you come out right behind into the chicane, you lose time for the corner. Come back a couple of car lengths back, you can put the power down earlier, get the momentum through Coca-Cola curve, and actually I think turn number 1 into Yokohama is going to be Justin Brunner's best bet here today.
I was worried with you comparing it to Indianapolis. They're about to start screaming about the month of May, weight jackers and adjustable anti-roll bars. But as they work themselves now back down the hill, I mean, you're absolutely right. You do sort of need to have a little bit of a gap to the car in front in order to be able to make that move. And that might sound contradictory, but if you're just right at the tailpipe of that car ahead of you, you're not going to have any room to carry momentum through the corner. That said, the Nürburgring GP track in these sorts of cars on this layout is hilariously difficult to try to make passes. It's actually one of the things for me, just in terms of what I prefer. I actually prefer racing the GP track. And for those who want to know what the difference is that final chicane. The final chicane in a GP car is very, very tight, and you can make moves happen because it's such a hard braking zone. Here, if you watch the GT car chicane, they're getting ready to go down your back straightaway now. It's basically just, you know, a single file straightaway that they're almost going through. It's not really a hard braking zone. Yeah, you're getting on the brakes, but if you watch the way they get through this, they're going through this at 90 miles an hour compared to the 40 to 50 they'd be going through that slower version of the chicane. Very difficult to make a pass stick on that GT car style layout.
Yeah, and you just saw the comparison between the two of them there. And actually, Brunner does look as though he's a little bit closer as they come down into turn number 1, but nowhere near close enough, although he's going to try and sling one down the inside in towards turn number 1. Is he going to be able to do something? The answer is he has the inside line. He's got the position for the moment. They'll stay side by side in towards turn number 2, and you've got yourself, oh my word, almost 3 wide there because Vendeveld put their nose in. Next corner is going to be a sweep around the outside for NX, and they should then get the advantage into turn number 4, and that's exactly what's happened. And Venderveld puts it down the inside as well. So now it's Jim Racing Black versus Venderveld Sim Racing White as they head themselves. And look at that. I think that actually Venderveld might try and work this on the outside inside now, and Venderveld move themselves up into 3rd place. That was a fantastic 40 seconds worth of racing there, Randy.
Great racing by everybody. Fantastic positioning by Venderveld, but Jim Racing and Dado Opcrack's not done yet, but no, he's not going to be able to slot up the inside. There's contact behind between iRacing Brazil and Ricardo Castroledo, and Ricardo spins back down into the field, collects a couple of other cars, and that is the nightmare situation a lot of people were worried about. That's 2 or 3 cars out of that one. Super aggressive move from the Brazilians, I must say, and unfortunately, Antoine Higlin, who has shown some actual fantastic pace in this race, he gets a piece of that as well, and that could be done.
That's 1, 2 cars, almost 3 cars hit there in one go. Paul, you go.
I was going to say Triton took a hefty hit in that one as well. That Mercedes is made of, well, it appears to be made of pig iron and churches because it just keeps on going, but really it's fallen down. It's going to be, it's down on top speed as well, so that damage at the front is affecting that Triton car.
Yeah, let's try and get another replay on board of Triton as this will be the run into Dunlop Curve. So just ahead, you'll see in a moment's time as they all come through, that Radical's car is just going to start spinning now. And at this point, you make the decision. Do you go left or right? He tries to go right, but that Radical's car kind of broke the first rule of racing there. When you spin, Jake, you hold the brakes.
Yes, you do, and I think it was a very unfortunate incident. I think that the Radicals machine was a little bit out of shape heading into the corner, and there was a gap that the iRacing Brazil team could have gone down the inside and taken. It was a little bit forceful. The door was tried to be shut as quickly as possible, but yes, you do hold your brakes. The natural line of the corner, as you said, it was a throwback to the carousel, so in that sort of respect, the track's always going to feed down to the inside. So Triton take a hit, Apex take a hit. You're lucky to see the Pink Power Racers not take a hit as well. Unlucky racing, but this is the thing. When you get everyone up into a pack, incidents are more likely to occur. So it was pretty much about time that something was going to happen, and it does break things up because now, behind Stefan Mushlar and the Thrustmaster Movano Yellow Machine, you got Inex, Pure, Triton, Radicals, Pink Power Racers, all there, all in the new train now, forming for the final spots inside the top 10.
Yeah, and the old train is there too. That old train is only separated by a second. It's broken up a little bit, but you see Bruno De Carmo fighting back. If we see Stefan Mugeler pick up a bit of pace, or if this second pack can catch up, this huge super pack is just going to be a thing again.
Just noticed, by the way, Bruno De Carmo losing a little bit of speed as a consequence of that incident. I'm just trying to have a look here. He got passed by Heisenfeld Core Motorsports and Alexander Voss a couple of moments ago. And Paul, he does look to be a bit down on power right now. I
saw what happened. He had a major moment on the power coming out of the Dunlop hairpin, and that's what meant he just had to correct it, get off the gas, and that allowed that Heisenfeld Core Motorsports car of Alexander Voss to make his way past in towards the Schumacher S. So a big heart-in-mouth moment for Bruno De Carmo, but he's able to keep going, and he's back up to pace now.
Yeah, there's a look at that on the exit. Oh, he just runs over that kind of green extended curb on the exit of Dunlop, and there you'll see that just allowed Alexander Voss to go past. I thought that the damage that he'd had would have impacted his top line speed. Maybe more likely it impacted on some of that bodywork and the overall balance of that car, Paul.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the contact was light enough that it's not really caused significant damage to the front of that McLaren, so he's able to keep his top speed. He's rather lucky in that one, considering the impact that we saw them make. But yeah, he maybe is missing a couple of kilometres an hour top speed, but it's not really a massive amount that he's been affected by here.
Nope, and 31 minutes now of this race scored complete as we just saw a little love tap there from Pure Racing Team Red over Inex Racing Red and Jack Sedgwick. Now, Sedgwick is now up into your top 10, and he is, though, a number of places. Let's make that 7 places behind Inex Racing Blue. Inex Racing Blue now, of course, are at the front of this train. JCL Apex Racing UK battling it out with Jeremy Bootaloo. Those two were very close a couple of moments ago. Battle going on in the 14th position. But I want to just talk about some of the drivers who are either out or wounded so far. We've got ourselves in 29th place, Radicals Online, JRT, Ricardo Castro-Ledo. They are having extended service on pit road. There we see that car. It's going to be about 30 minutes minimum before anyone gets back into that one. So not a good day then for Radicals Online. After that car as well was beaten around down at turn number 1, and it looked like they got away with it. Then we've got ourselves Next Level Racing TTLR Orange, Madison Down. They are running at the rear of the field after having their own incident with Phoenix Motorsport in the first lap of the motor race. Then you got yourself David Williams, had himself either a penalty or had himself something happen on the first couple of laps because he's done his pit stop already. And they are classified down in P number 27. Riley Preston is actually part of your main pack right now. So we've got 3 drivers who really have been in the wars here today. But the big battle has been going on. P2, 3, 4, 5. For now, we'll leave it at P2, 3, 4, and 5. Because NX Racing Blue and Justin Brunner has moved himself to the front of that train. You've got to give credit, actually, to Juani Lopez for the way that he kind of forced himself to go through at the same time as Justin Brunner, and Vendeveld made that pass work on the outside of 6 and 7, Jake, in a way that not many people would actually make work.
No, and you look at the way that Juani Lopez made that happen. They are no strangers to the Nürburgring. Cast your minds back to the 24 hours. They are only, Will, a second and a half away from victory over Pure, but it just didn't happen for them. You talk about VLN, 4 corners away from taking a race victory, and then suddenly the Gremlins come into play. They are no strangers to this circuit. They do know how to attack this circuit in many different ways, and Juani Lopez has personified what it means to make a good overtake when you have less power available. You make it work in the corners. He took an idea to go down to the inside, and then what he did was he decided to follow up on that, use that ability to have more downforce on the outside of Valvoline to get the inside for Ford down the hill, which will always favour, and it's something like that that he's got to do again with Justin Brunner. He's not going to have many opportunities to make that happen, but the fact that they're pulling away, now a gap of 9/10 of a second, if not 1.1, between themselves and also Jim Racing Black, that's enough for them to break away and start thinking about P2.
Yeah, and interestingly, last lap number 18 wasn't as good, but Paul, to the lap comparisons again, I said that Jim might have been holding them up. Well, the stats don't really lie, because they were about 0.3 of a second faster on lap 16 and 17 as we've got an incident.
We've had an incident, yeah, and it's just Sassamavano Yellow have been involved in this one, and the other car involved in that one, it is NX Racing Reds, the team that I said had to be moving forward. Oh, and the PRT number 70 car had to take a void in extra. So Maximilian Beneke lost a ton of positions there. As I said, Jack Sedgwick, I said, had to make moves forward. That's what, 2 now that we've seen where there's been contact with them.
The first one you get away with, the second one, the stewards start looking at you.
Yeah, exactly. So I would imagine that they're going to be looking at that one and possibly just have a word in the ear of them as they're heading on in this race. But yeah, looking at that gap at the front, Jim, like I said to you, that they weren't really that much slower than Justin Brunner in that NX Racing Blue car. I mean, they're now, what, 1.3 seconds behind Vin Devil Sim Racing White. So Juani Lopez and Justin Brunner have just made that little bit of a breakaway, and I think they've just got out of that slipstream area as well. So Jim Racing Black, they're now just coming under intense pressure from Maxime Pauly in that core Sim Racing Silver car, and that core Silver car really needs to make moves forwards to try and attack the second place winner, Justin Brunner. Yeah,
because they're in the weakest position in terms of the championship heading into this event. We always said that they need to do something. However, it might be interesting seeing what happens in the next 20-30 minutes or so. Will it be Maxime Pauly, do you think, Randy, who will do the 2-hour stint, or do we think we're going to see him hand over at the 1 hour, 1 hour 5 mark?
It depends who they have. Looks like Jan Kuru is here and currently the only driver they have currently logged into the session, so I'm not sure who it's going to be. It could really go either way, and it could be one of those things where you might throw the other driver in the middle, compare their pace, and then, you know, decide what you're going to do after. You generally have enough time with the fuel, even without tires, if you want to do a no tire stop, to actually get that driver swap done and out of the way. So it's going to be an interesting one as far as strategy is concerned for all these drivers, when they're going to throw those second drivers into the car, and whether you're going to do a bunch of singles for this one or if you're going to do a double.
We've been having a look, by the way, on and off with Movano Yellow, of course. They were involved in that incident a moment ago, and VRS Commander SimSports #1 machine, Marcus Lenderman, because actually this is now the 3rd time they have changed positions. Movano Yellow in 17th place, Commander SimSports #1 in 18th. We've also got PRT Red, who's kind of had to do a lot of evasive actions here today. They've got themselves sharpened up, and I think that a lot of adrenaline in Maximum Beneke's car right now. But Beneke in 16th place in that Ford. We talked about how they seem to be struggling, but once again, the battle going on between Movano Yellow and Commander SimSports is hotting up.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you threw that to me or not, but oh, you did, okay. But you see that battle that's going on between Lenderman right now and Mushla. Mushla has fallen back about 2-3 positions on this lap alone and has dropped a lot of time from the likes of Joshua Rogers, Antoine Hegeland, the likes of Beneke as well, who have made the Uber defense down in towards the right-hander of what was the Dunlop hairpin. And this is the thing, Beneke seemingly has something good enough to work with, but Mushla starting to get a little bit out of line here, just getting himself off of the train. And now Marcus Lenderman has that old adage, it's BMW against McLaren. It's the worst matchup you can have, being a BMW driver, because you've got to deal with the power. And again, there's not much that you can do. Mushla just seemingly has nothing when it comes to what he has left. He needs to find his rhythm, find his concentration, and have another go at it.
On board of Marcus Lenderman then in that #1 Commander SimSports team. Of course, the last race for a while that they'll be able to use the #1 machine, currently in 18th place. And it has been a fall from grace, really, for Commander SimSports in terms of the Blancpain GT Series. And we all know, Jake, you do a lot of sim racing teams and driver rankings. But for Commander, do you think they focus too heavily as down to the inside, almost tagging the number 77 machine there? Goes Marcus Lenderman down at Dunlop. But do you think that Commander's focused too heavily on the World Championship Grand Prix Series and kind of taken their eye off the ball in terms of the Blancpain Series? Or has just the competition level soared even higher in Blancpain to mean that actually, if this talent was running last year, Commander probably wouldn't have won the championship?
It's difficult to say because they work in 2 different sorts of factions, shall you say. You've got the F1 side and you've got the Blancpain side. And what you normally find is that there isn't that much distinguishability between the 2 sides. You've got drivers like Martin Kroenke, who hasn't raced a race this season. You've got drivers like Marty Piatello, who hasn't jumped in. Matt Backham's only done 1 race. Mitchell de Jong has been key in the vehicle that qualified through the qualifying series. So when you look at what they've done in terms of Blancpain, most of that call from that original team was still within that #1 VRS Commander SimSport machine. They moved Jorn Jens out of the team. They decide that they try and move other drivers back in, and something just hasn't clicked within them this season. I don't think it's about a fact of them focusing too much on the Formula 1 side, although that they are looking for 100%. I think it is more about the fact that they are looking to try and get more areas involved, that they're trying to broaden their team. Maybe that you got a few drivers who are taking their foot off the pedal, thinking that everything's all fine and dandy. And the last thing that I'd probably say that you need to look at is actually their VRS deal as well. Having to do all those setup works and all those sessions, maybe it's taking a lot of time out of their schedule where they should really be focusing on what they are doing in the Blancpain Series.
That's an interesting point to draw upon, actually, a little bit, Randy, because, you know, esports and sim racing, they're becoming closer and closer merged. And actually, the idea of the full-time sim racing job, you know, is still, in my opinion, about 3-4 years away, minimum. But I think that for some of these guys who have got the bigger sponsorship deals, there is more burden, as Jake just alluded, that comes with that. There becomes a point, actually, yes, you get some good money from doing so. We don't know what the deals are, as actually, Corsim Racing Silver looked down to the inside of Jim Racing Black, couldn't do so into the chicane there. But it's one of those things that actually is probably going to be worth a bigger analysis as we head ourselves into 2018. As look at this one there, Corsim Racing Silver power move out of the Coca-Cola curve.
Fantastic move there by Corsim Racing Silver through that final corner. It's just Dado Opkak making another mistake, pushing a little bit wide. So I think, you know, I talked about it near the the start of the race, the fact that some of these teams might be running their pressures a little bit on the high end and might overcook them, and they're still going to be side by side through 1 and into 2. But a little bit of side to side contact, and that's going to give Jim the position. And I think that core silver card not going to be very happy. Jim needs to be careful. They've been dicing it up and caused some scary moments with championship contenders. I think they're going to be one to potentially find themselves into an incident soon. This is something we talked about last season with Jesus Cecilia, Will. If you remember with the Brands Hatch situation, he came out on old tires and in front of a lot of fast race cars. When you have 2 hours of a race plus of a race left and you're holding up a lot of people, eventually those people are going to make dire moves. Sometimes, if you're in Dado Opcak's shoes, the best thing is to just let those 3 cars behind you go so they don't make some dive bomb last second, you know, Hail Mary pass attempt going into a corner and then suddenly take out a whole bunch of cars. But on the topic of Coanda, I will say it's been a very disappointing year for them, especially for that BMW. We know that that group is quick, and I don't think talent is of any question here, because if we recall back to last year, they were one of the only successful BMWs across the championship as a whole. This season, though, there's been other BMW teams that, even though the BOP may be called into question, there have been other strong teams running under that marquee. You have, for example, right now, Vendaval Sim Racing White running 3rd. We had the Radicals car running strong as well until that incident. The BMWs are capable of some speed. It's just the Coanda guys, for some reason, haven't found it all year long.
We're just having a look at Pure Racing Team Red. They just put themselves past Joshua Rogers to move up into 15th place in that PRT red car over Next Level Racing TTLR. And one of the things also, Paul, I do often talk about this, is sometimes you end up being faster by losing a position, because you'll still be kind of pulled around the racetrack, especially in a kind of mini pack situation like this. But actually, by leading, you're putting more strain in your tires, you're having to do more defensive driving, and actually what it does mean is you lose time overall. And we forget this is a timed endurance race. It isn't always about what position you run in at the end of hour number 1, hour number 2, for example.
It's almost like looking at cycling. Look at the peloton. Look at how they have the team work around to save the energy of the lead cyclist. They all work together, give him that gap in the air so that he's not having to exert as much energy on the bike. Well, you're pretty much doing the same here. If you're in the lead of this group of cars here, you're pushing that air, you're creating that hull in the air for the rest of them behind you, so you're using more fuel. You're having to get, as you say, defensive, because the teams behind you are looking for moves past you. And so that means that you're not on the ideal line, which means that you're slowing down your lap times, which therefore puts you under more pressure, because then the teams behind are getting more frustrated with you because you're going slower, so you're going more defensive. And it's just a vicious cycle that you can find yourself in. If you can get yourself into that rhythm of just staying ahead, then yeah, you can work it fine. But if you're in a battle, kind of like what Jim is finding themselves both earlier on when they were in 2nd place and now in 4th place, the problem with what you're suggesting, Will, in my opinion, is if you let one car past, you've got the threat of being freight trained to the back of that pack. And as much as it may be beneficial for you to lose 1 position, to lose 3 or 4 positions would be just a nightmare for them. So really, at the moment, they need to stay at the front of that pack just to mitigate any chances of that happening.
Yeah.
But should the threat of being freight trained, is that not outweighed by the threat of someone making a dive bomb move? And this is what I'm talking about. Dado Opcak has not been driving very well at the head of this field. He's been making mistakes since the drop of the green flag. We saw that mistake down at the bottom at the hairpin. He's been pushing wide at a lot of these corners. And yes, the threat of getting freight trained is there, but at the same time, the threat of whoever is behind him throwing up a dive bomb and turning him around has been there as well. It is much more worth it to drop 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spots down the order than it is to maybe potentially risk getting yourself spun around and having your race ended right there. 2 hours left to go. The way Dado is driving, what's going to happen is he's going to come down pit road, or one of these guys are going to come down pit road earlier than him, someone like Paulie, Voss, or DeCarmo. They're simply going to undercut him with the clean air, and he's going to come out behind these guys regardless, because those guys are so much quicker than him.
Yeah, just having a look then at that battle. And again, I want to now just turn my attention just back to what we've been talking about. Lap gaps here today. And now, Vendaval Sim Racing White, because they are in that, well, two-car train, shall we say, for second place. The last 3 laps, a second, 9/10 of a second, and half a second is what's been lost from P3 down to P number 4. And it does seem to be that all of a sudden, Jim Racing Black are now losing a lot of time in what is essentially your second pack here today. As in X Racing Blue, though, they are still losing time to Core Sim Racing Orange. That gap is now up to 18 seconds. And Vendeveld did get a very good run, actually, out of the final corner. But they've not got the straight line speed advantage to really capitalize on that one. And actually, 2 of the last 3 laps, Juani Lopez has been faster than Justin Brunner.
I'm sorry to cut in there, but JCL Apex Racing UK have had a little incident here. They were overtaken by Joshua Rogers going into that final corner, and then the Thrustmaster Ivana yellow car just threw it on the inside when the gap was closing. Anton Higland lucky to be keeping going in a straight line, but it's just dropping further back now. Now the VRS Quanda SimSport car is attacking him as well. It's been an absolute nightmare for the Apex car, of course, getting caught up in that incident down at Dunlop hairpin.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a replay of this one if we can. So there we can see the outside line, and then we see he turned 45 degrees actually there. And that, you're right, very lucky to still be running in this event. Let's take the tape back a little bit further and let's see what we can show you for JCL Apex Racing UK. Here we are. And you just noticed there that TTLR Next Level Racing car is going to then come down on the exit of the chicane into the final corner. Now, that isn't the thing we want to focus on. Is we're going to actually go on board now with that JCL Apex Racing UK machine. There's one, and there's the tag. And you just noticed there, has to flick down some gears, get that momentum back, and then all of a sudden you'll notice the fact that as we just switch it back, then you've got yourself Coanda trying to look down to the inside. Now, luckily, JCL Apex Racing UK, for them at least, was able to stay ahead of that #1 machine, but that was very, very close there, Jake.
Oh, it certainly was, and I think any less experienced driver would find themselves out of the event or with damage which would have to try and be repaired at some stage. So it's a good drive there from Antoine Higland to hold it the way he did, keep it on the island as well. But again, it was another case of Thrustmaster Movano being a little bit too greedy into the corner, seeing an opportunity, trying to take it, but not having the overall sight to work out that they need to be a little bit closer to the inside of the curve to give themselves an opportunity. It's one of those things here, you're not going to get many opportunities in this race, and when they do happen, you don't want to be jumping over it like a puppy in some respects. You've got to be very calm, very measured, and that's where you're looking at the likes of, say, Core Sim Racing Silver doing it a little bit differently, waiting for an opportunity. Even though that half chances are being presented to them, they're waiting for the clear-cut chance to happen.
Triton Racing just deciding to talk about the puppy situation. Just go and rub the rear of the Radicals online car just ahead of them. A little bit of contact between the two, but they carry on without much in terms of incidents. And Silver actually did touch the back of Jim there through Mercedes-Benz Arena. And, well, the pressure's now really being put on Dade Opakak, as we are actually, for those of you keeping lap count, we are on lap number 27 now of this event. We are 27 laps, of course, there naturally into the stint. And if you Core Sim Racing Silver, the challenge might now be, Randy, to try and find the perfect opportunity to come on towards pit road that isn't the same lap as that number 7 car.
I think right now, if you're Corey, normally I'm someone who advises running long, but I actually think if you're Core Silver, you need to be looking at the undercut here. Same with Alex Voss, Bruno De Carmo, basically anyone in this train. They need to be looking to come down, I think, before this Jim Black car, simply based on the fact that it's not a huge field here today. We're normally used to seeing about 50 cars, only about 29 turned up for this round. And for that reason, I think it's pretty unlikely that you're going to come out in a whole lot of traffic after your pit stop. Come down pit road, get yourself filled up on fuel, maybe take some tires, and then start going out and running some more laps. As Dado, again, very loose on the entry into 1. Did nicely get it to the apex, though, as they worked through the second corner. But come down pit road, and maybe this has to be the time that you take tires so that you do get the undercut over that Jim McLaren and try to jump him in that 3 to 4 lap window you could have, as he's going to get ready to come down onto old rubber. I think if you're Pauly, I think you have the speed to make that work, even though you'll be having to have a super heavy fuel load after topping the car up.
Yeah, and actually, I just did the calculations. If you came on towards pit road now, did a fuel-only start, you would come out in clean air if you're the first driver to do so. The risk you run is then when everyone else comes in, you've got to make sure you stay ahead of them. Otherwise, it won't work for you. So for Maxime Pauly, also worth noting there, Randy, that that fuel window is actually open, I would say, at the end of next lap, because you, as I talked about before, you can easily do 65 minutes, I would say, in these track conditions. Yes, you won't get the shorter end stint, but it might be worth risking early to benefit later.
Exactly, and that's, you know, like you said, you can probably do about an hour and 5, maybe even push to about an hour and 10 around here. I haven't done a fuel run in any of these cars, and certainly not the McLaren. The McLaren tends to be a little bit on the thirsty side, so they might have to go a little bit further than, say, that Mercedes behind them of Huntsville Core Motorsports being wheeled by Alexander Voss, that's having one of their best results of the entire championship thus far, getting sums up into a P6 and able to contend for a top 5. But you are right, here in the next couple laps, we're going to see that open, and as we say that, Huntsville Core Motorsports, they come down on a pit road first, so they're going to be the ones looking to blink, and I think this is going to have to be a tire stop for everybody here if you're coming down this early. I don't think when you're trying to look for the undercut right now at the end of this first hour, you want to be going back out there on old tires. But that said, there is that 30-second difference with skipping tires, and sometimes that track position now could be well worth it.
It's the world's longest undercut. That's what we're trying to explain to you here, ladies and gentlemen, because actually, if you're going to do a driver change, you do your driver change now and then put the driver in for 2 hours, change the rub and everything at the same time. But if you're Alexander Voss, you're not likely to want to get out of the race car right now. So let's have a look at the pit time for him. He is on pit road, and we know generally a kind of something like a 30 to 40 second pit stop means that you are taking fuel only. If it becomes much longer than that, then expect to see 4 new pieces of rubber put onto that race car. 31.7 seconds, fuel only there for Alexander Voss. And the one driver I was thinking might prove to be an issue is Next Level Racing TTLR and Madison Down. Of course, had those incidents earlier on, but that's the only driver in sight now for Alexander Voss. Jake, good call, bad call?
Good call, because he was losing half a second in comparison to NX Racing Blue and Vendaval Sim Racing White, and I've got no doubts that Alexander Voss can make that same sort of pace, and with clean air, he's not going to be held up by those drivers in front, and now that's a worrying situation for everyone in that train in front, as now Maxime Pauly may look to try and make a move on Dado Opencat, get that track position before the pit road window happens, and someone's got to come down and cover this move. Someone's got to be waiting. The drivers in P2, P3, they're in their own little battle. They're going to continue on, and look at that. Bruno De Carmo will cover the move done by Hoyks and Velcor Motorsports, and that's a very good move, and he tags the Armco ever so slightly on the exit of pit road. Coulthard-esque at Adelaide.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Welcome to 1995. Let's have a look at a replay then of this for Bruno De Carmo. Now, these drivers, as I say, drivers who come in and change drivers in their team, we are expecting, and there's the hit of the Armco barrier, by the way. Drivers who change drivers, teams that change drivers, I'll get that one out eventually, we would then expect them to see them taking tyres. If you're going to keep the same driver in, you do no tyres now, because it's probably not worth the time or the hassle. Just to run back a little bit further through your field, there's Vendaval Sim Racing White. They are half a second behind NX Racing Blue. But Corsim Racing Silver are, again, 0.2 of a second behind the Jim Racing Black car. They just haven't found a way through yet here today. Run down into Dunlop, we're not likely to see anything. He's too far back. 2.5 car lengths down into the Dunlop curve. But Paul, now it's a case of you've got to commit to something. Just coming in at the same time is not going to be worth it. You must commit to something here today.
Yeah, you certainly do. Bruno De Carmo, by the way, was about just under 4 seconds slower on his pit stop than Alexander Voss, so he's come out behind by about 2.5 seconds. This is the bit. This is where your strategists, this is where your team managers are now going to be furiously working away on the calculator, looking right, what's going to work, what's not going to work, where we're going to come out on track. There's a lot of space on this track today, as we've been saying. 29 cars in this field today, so there's plenty of space out there. It's just finding it and finding yourself the time and working out what will work best for you, whether you're going to be better off having that run later on in the race or earlier. They've taken that jump early on of Hoisingveld and iRacing Brazil, and but just see how
they've gotten clean air.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. They've got what they wanted. Hoisingveld Motorsports have got that Next Level Racing TTLR orange car of Madison Down ahead, and Down has got a bit of damage, so it's going to be a little bit slower, but definitely I shouldn't see that as being too much of an issue to get past that car.
Yeah, that 4-second section on pit road, I would say, is probably someone furiously there with a hammer making sure that bodywork on that car was okay after the incident that we just saw Takamo have on pit road, where he did tag the Armco barrier on the way in. The gap times between Next Level Racing and Hoisingveld Core Motorsports should be big enough that either Madison will just let him pass, or it should be an easy overtake, one would argue, for Hoisingveld Core Motorsports. Got to remember that this is for position, so technically there's no need for that driver of Madison Down to let him through. NX Racing Yellow are on pit road as we speak. So they have decided to come in before the 1 hour mark here today in the Mercedes, and we'll keep an eye out. He is staying in the car. Oh no, that's a change of driver. PJ Sturgis is into the car now. So we do expect this is going to be what we call a long stop then, Jake. Going to be about 60 seconds maximum, and this is when he'll basically take his last set of tyres of the season. No, he doesn't.
No. Oh, that's very interesting. And sometimes you do put a driver on old tyres. It depends on how you feel. You can't really say how good it's going to be. But for NX Racing Yellow, I feel PJ Sturgis is one of the more experienced drivers, that he is able to run on an old set of tyres better than anyone else does. But it's such a risky decision, Will, that I wouldn't do it if I was a team manager. I'm not sure you would either.
It's a risky one. It's a risky one.
Jeremy
but PJ's
had an issue.
Yeah, we'll pick that one up then for the driver of Jeremy Bootloop, number 18, Koana Sim Sports. He's actually now brought that car onto pit road as a consequence. But we've got to remember the fact that, of course, the driver of PJ Sturgis is what we call the dirt maestro. He's one of the best. He races dirt in real world. So actually a slippery car isn't a big issue for him. As Jeremy Bootloop, as you say, is on pit road, but he did have an incident. We're replaying it. Paul, talk us through.
Yeah, he absolutely clouted the curb at the chicane at the end of the lap. That sent him around off into the grass and the gravel. He was able to get back up and running again, and decided, you know what, I'm just going to pull us up the pit road. Now's as good a time as any to make that pit stop.
Yeah, so there he is coming on towards pit road. Coming out of pit road is what he's doing right about now, as Jack Sedgwick is right behind Core Sim Racing Silver right now. And was that a power move there by Mania? It was a power move by Mania. Right down to the inside. That was beautiful, Jake.
It was fantastic, and Mania using the BMW to his advantage. It's light, it's nimble, and he just worked his way through on a sleeping Sedgwick. And Sedgwick, that's the sort of thing NX has been a little bit prone to, thinking that everything's going to be okay, and Mania just slipping through like a thief in the night, and that is a great move. Now get onto the back of Maxime Pauli, who is now all over the back of Dado Opakak again, as you can see already just how much gravel's been kicked up out of that Warsteiner curve, and now towards NGK, still unable to make that happen. But that one move alone cost about 0.6 of a second in comparison between Mania and Pauli very loose on towards pit road, and he had to, because look at how much time he's been losing.
Yep, so he comes on towards pit road. I expect him, though, to come out behind the Core Motorsports car of Alexander Voss. I did just say that the driver of, PJ Sturgis drove on dirt. I meant short tracks, but same thing. Slippery cars all the way around. For Maxime Pauli, then, this is going to be important for two reasons. Will he stay in the car, or will he hand over? And will he take tyres? Answer to question number one, we'll find out in about the next 7 seconds. If we were going to, Paulie stays in the car then. So it's now a case of expect that one to go up to about 31, 32 seconds. Want to turn our attention over to Core Motorsports. Where are they right now? Well, they're just heading themselves through the chicane down and towards Coca-Cola curve, turn number 16, as the driver of Paulie is still on pit road, but should be coming out any second now. 34, 35, 36 second stop. It's going to be very close. And actually, no, clear track there for Core Motorsports. They got themselves through. The undercut worked there very well, because actually Paulie's now behind the driver of Bruno De Carmo. You might just think here, maybe, Randy, they filled that car to the brim to make sure that they have as short a stint as possible when they change over.
Could very well do so. There can be slight fluctuations in the pit stop times, of course. You know, different cars and slightly different fill rates. If Alex Voss and Core Motorsports did short fill that car, that could explain that. What we really need to wait to see is what happens when Jim Racing comes down pit lane. What happens when the rest of these cars come down pit lane, and that's when we'll have to. That's when we'll get an idea of if that's the virtue of slightly different pit strategy, or if that's the virtue of the undercut, because that group was getting held up by that Jim Racing McLaren. Yep, here's NX Racing Red then. P number 6, just been passed, of course, by Radical's Online Steel Series with Alexander Mania. Lap number 34 of this event. We are now past the 1 hour mark in this event, and Core Sim Racing Orange versus NX Racing Blue. 20 seconds is the gap now, and there is a look at the most recent lap times between them. And it's worth noting that Brunner is still losing about 4 to 5 tenths of a second a lap, Paul, but it's not as bad as what it was earlier. Freddie Rasmussen, though, is not relenting. He's actually, I would love to see his lap times at the end of this event and the kind of graph, because his last 3 laps were within, get this, 1.2 tenths of a second. Lap 32 to 33, they were separated by just 2/100ths of a second.
Yeah, you look at his lap times, it's just a level of consistency that's incredible. He's rarely dipping into the 51s. He's keeping
variation of 9/10ths over this whole stint.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just incredible that the methodical. Oh, he's coming into the pits as well. So this is it. Leader into pits. It'll be. Are we thinking a full service or just a splash and then away they go again?
I think Frederick can do whatever he wants, and he can just be fine regardless. To be honest, he's got a 20-second lead. Even if he took tires and no one else did, he'd be only 10 seconds back on new rubber.
Yeah, just to let you know, by the way, TTLR Racing Red have a 30-second penalty. That is the driver of Joshua Rogers. That was an incident that we actually saw earlier on in this event, so they've been penalised for that one. As we've got ourselves now the driver, say, Frederick Rasmussen, staying in the car by the looks of it, so we'll keep an eye out on what the times are, but we've also got Jim Racing Black on pit road as well. So a couple of things to note here, all at the same time. Core Sim Racing Orange, as we say, we expect them to be about 31 to 34 seconds on pit road. They could go out and get themselves a burger, get themselves a beer, then get back into the car, and they'd still probably lead the race. But for now, it's just going to be a case of fuel only. It's actually getting a bit long for fuel only.
Driver swap.
Driver swap for Jim, yes. Driver swap for Jim, yeah. But 42-second stop there for Frederick Rasmussen. We'll come back to that one in a moment's time, because there is a driver swap for Jim, and Sebastian Dunkel is behind the wheel of that car. We therefore expect them, Randy, to take full tyres as well as a full tank of fuel. You've also got JCL Apex Racing UK on pit road. You've got Next Level Racing TTLR Red with their penalty on pit road. Evolution Racing Team number 27, Riley Preston on pit road, as well as MXP Phoenix Racing.
And I just want to say, look at that. Huizenveld, Core Motorsports and iRacing Brazil then moving forward, and free space getting them ahead of well, quite a number of cars. Of course, change of drivers is helping matters, but still able to move forward ahead of a pack of cars is good work so far for Huizenveld Core Motorsports.
Yeah, and it is a tyre change then for Jim Racing Black. So we won't really know what the impact of this situation is until the next round of this pit stops. 1 minute 8.8 out and away for them. We've also got JCL Apex Racing UK about to complete their service. Antoine Heglin behind the wheel. 1 minute 8.6 they are out and away. As well as MXP Phoenix Racing. They're out in 1 minute 9 flat. So very similar pit stop times for these drivers, as we've got ourselves now NX Racing Blue on pit road to really kind of round out our service stint here.
We're the shadow of Vendaval.
Yes. Vendaval as well, right behind them with 1E Lopez. Be interesting to see whether Justin Brunner is getting out of the car, Simon Cattell's getting in. and Juan Lopez stays in behind the wheel of the Vendeville Sim Racing white car. So 2 different strategies there, Randy, for P2 and 3.
And that's not really much of a surprise. And let's see what happens, though, with what actually, with how this affects, if we see no tires versus a tire call, because we've seen some teams kind of variate. Even people not doing driver swaps are taking tires, and Vendeville beats NX out regardless of the fact. So I think NX Racing Blue likely taking a set of tires here. Vendeville out and away as Juan Lopez runs down into turn number 1.
Yeah,
and the NX car gets jacked up, so confirmed. Yeah,
with the NX Racing Blue team taking a new driver, they're always going to take themselves some tires anyway. But Vendeville Sim Racing White out and away in a total time of 31.9 seconds. Back out on track. There's confirmation on the screen for you. As well, 2 drivers haven't yet pitted. They are Phoenix Motorsports, Rube Tequila, and Huxenveld Core Motorsports, Angela DeMichael. But as it stands, of those drivers who have pitted properly, because Corana's number 8 car pitted at the end of that number 1, Sim Racing Orange lead by 12 seconds over Vendeville Sim Racing White. Then Core Motorsports now in 3rd place, Radicals Online Steel Series in 4th, and iRacing Brazil team in 5th place. One thing worth talking about here, Jake, is the pit stop time for Core Sim Racing Orange. Freddie Rasmussen did a 42.1 second pit stop. It seemed long, but that was getting as much fuel in as possible. And we say this nicely to give Freddie as much time in the car as possible. His teammate then basically just has to do a little blitz at the end for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it is just a run on the way home, and I believe we're thinking maybe 1 tyre was the call down on the stops. Not too sure on that, but that's the thing. When you have a driver like Frederick Rasmussen who will keep it on the island, keep it consistent, and pull away from everyone with half a second in the tank, you could put Paul in the machine and he would bring it home potentially for a victory. That's
okay. Let's not get too outlandish on our claims.
Come on now. There's a reason why I'm in this commentary box, and it's not because of my good looks.
Well, it is radio broadcasting in some respects, but still, you know, Frederick Rasmussen, he's got all the pace in the world, and so anyone who's coming in has to do a job of keeping it on the island to bring that home. And I think that's what maybe Isaac Price does very well. He brings a car home. He keeps it on the island. He doesn't make any mistakes. He doesn't need to push as hard. And it's no disrespect to Isaac Price on how good of a driver he is, world's fastest gamer and all. But Frederick Rasmussen is on another planet. And I don't know who stops him in the next 3 years. Think about it. He's still only 17, Will.
Yeah, that's incredible. And of course, for that reason, you're not going to see Freddie R in terms of world's fastest gamer this year, but you better be prepared for world's fastest gamer 2018 once he punches his 18th birthday ticket and all the joys that come with being 18. Triton Racing currently having a little battle with Jim Racing Black, and we talked so much about Jim Racing Black today. New driver, back out on track, and they're in another battle, Paul.
Certainly are, and the thing is, Triton weren't really involved with Jim Racing Black before the pit stop, so that pit stop phase has definitely affected Jim Racing Black and brought other teams into play. And in fact, Triton were
they were in the same
slower.
They were in the same train, but they were on opposite ends of it. Jim was leading it, and Triton was down near the back of it.
Yeah, I was just having a look on board with Triton, actually, and it's worth noting that Jim Racing Black, despite the fact they've got fresh tyres, do seem to be struggling right now. So it does look as though that they might fail. And look at this, Triton Racing down to the inside on older tyres, let's not forget, as they work themselves through Dunlop, and Triton Racing up into 16th place. Yes, Paul.
I will say, however, Triton haven't changed driver, so they did a full service, got fresh tyres, but they've kept the same driver. He knows what this track is like. He knows what the conditions are like for the car. It'll take Sebastian Dunkel a few laps just to get his eye in to see how the track is handling, how the car is handling, and then he'll be up to speed.
Yep. So after round number 1 of pit stops, this is how things look in terms of ups and downs here. Vendeville Sim Racing White, well, we know how good their race has been. They are up 5 places, and this is a net P5. Maybe might struggle at the end of this event because, of course, we've got them on a different strategy right now with NX Racing Blue. But as it stands, Vendeville, if they carry on doing what they're doing, they could well get a 2nd place here today. Hexenwald Core Motorsports up 6 places. They decided not to take tyres on that first stint either. Radical Online Steel Series with Alexander Mania, they made that power move just before pit stops, and they are now up 9 places. Inex Racing Red didn't take tyres, ergo they are up. Pure Racing Team Blue is an interesting one, because actually they have done quite a bit of this on pace, Randy, but we haven't really seen too much of them here today.
No, we haven't. There's been a handful of teams like that, hasn't there, that is just sort of, especially because of what we saw up at the front of the field with that huge train of cars. A lot of what was happening down in the bottom half of the field was actually really calm. I mean, to think that we're an hour into this, with the 50-car grids, we usually get some pandemonium somewhere near the start, but to be an hour in and have only one car out of the race, one car one lap down, it's been a relatively clean first hour and first green flag cycle, and because of that, there's probably a lot of cars we haven't really seen or talked about. Evolution Racing teams, they're both sort of examples. One of them just got no, actually I take that back, that's TTLR. I'm mixing up my, actually they're not Australian anymore, so I can't say that either, but there are some teams that we've not seen much of today. Yeah, indeed. So we are 1 hour 15 minutes into this, then the final round of the Blancpain GT Series on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. Live timing and scoring is available. Just visit RaceSpot.tv/timing for live updates. And the good thing about endurance racing as well, live timing, the driver gets into the car, driver gets out of the car, we'll let you know as well. Automatically, RaceSpotTV, live timing and scoring. Want to give a couple of quick shout outs, first of all, to Istvan Balau's Track Cams for Gourmets, the official graphics partner, the official camera partner even of RaceSpotTV. Also to ATVO, the official graphics engine of RaceSpotTV, as well as And1 Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. And if you think what you see now looks pretty, just wait until next Sunday. That's all I am going to say. Frederick Rasmussen then versus Vendeveld Sim Racing. That is the battle going on for the race lead. And what we're just going to have a quick look at is what's happened over the last couple of laps. You know what? Lap number 37, Juani Lopez, only 1/10 of a second slower than Frederick Rasmussen. Actually, Vendeveld Sim Racing White, when they're running by themselves, one-on-one here, Paul, they're not doing that bad. I think they've got a chance of securing net P2 overall here today.
Certainly got that opportunity, that's for sure here, but we'll have to wait until that next round of pit stops to see how all that one pans out, because you look further down, the teams that took full service, I mean, Jim, where are they? They're down in 17th at the moment, so they're struggling with that one. Some of the other ones, Inex Racing Blue, who took a full pit stop as well, they're down in 12th place. They're roughly about, what, 24 seconds off, 24, 25 seconds off of the battle for that third place spot. So Vendeveld are in a good spot at the moment. They need to keep this pace up and need to basically push all the way through this this part of the session now to really try and get that, secure that second place, I should say, in this race. In terms of sort of your championship, just sort of looking at the championship, I was saying about Inex Racing Blue down in 12, Inex Racing Red, they've not really been involved in this one really too much today. And I say that they're up in 7th place, so that tells you how much I'm noticing. But that silver car, Core Sim Racing silver car, 6th place at the moment, is in a good spot for what they need to do for that second place overall. So it's developing. It's going to be a slow burner, this one. We'll see how it goes towards the end of the session today, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out towards the end.
I would say, though, that we won't really know much of a championship picture until the final half hour, I would say, of this event. Once all drivers have made driver changes, done their final services, and we actually know what they need to do in terms of the racetrack. Here are your top 8 then, as we head ourselves 75 minutes now complete in this event. Core Sim Racing Orange lead by 13.4 seconds over Vendeveld Sim Racing White. Now, the reason why the field has all of a sudden just, spread out, well, we expect it to. This is the nature of endurance racing. Mixed strategies, mixed things going on. Some drivers taking tyres, some people doing driver swaps, etc. Hexenwald Core Motorsports are in 3rd with Radicals Online running in the 4th place, about 1.2 seconds back. In fact, 2 seconds back even from Core Motorsports. Then it's iRacing Brazil team in 5th, Core Sim Racing Silver in 6th. Then Inex Racing Red, they are in 7th place. And then 8th place is PRT Blue. The thing that really needs to happen if you're Sim Racing Silver in this second hour of the event, you have got to make sure, Jake, that you put as much time between yourself and Inex Racing Red, which I'm just going to have a look at the graphic, and I think that they are doing so. In fact, well, they're putting on 2 tenths of a second on lap 38.39, lost half a tenth on lap number 40, but they've really got to pull away, I would say, by at least 6 seconds and be right on the rear of iRacing Brazil team, or maybe even past them before the next pit stop.
The thing for Maxime Paoli and Sim Racing Silver to worry about is that they are the leading machine in the battle for P2 on circuit, but they're not the leading machine in the championship.
Yes.
If things stay like this, it's a 1-point win for Inex Racing Red, who nobody had thrown their 2 bits into the hat for them. So what they've done is they've kept quiet through this opening stage with Jack Sedgwick behind the wheel. Maybe they throw Tamala in for the final stint. Maybe they throw someone else in for that final stint. But for Maxime Paoli and Sim Racing Silver, they've got to find one more position, because they will be overall on a tie wheel on most second places for the season, without a shadow of a doubt.
As we've got ourselves, just have a look through the battles in your field right now. We have got number 18, Jeremy Bootsleep versus PRT Red. PRT, of course, had themselves a number of battles going on at the start of this motor race. And again, you see the graphic on your screen. Jeremy Bootsleep is catching up to the rear of PRT with Ivo Howler right now behind the wheel of that one. It's a Ford versus a Mercedes, and you kind of feel a little bit bad here for the Fords in this field today, Randy, because it does seem to be that they are on the back foot, but PRT, the one team that I think really been able to try and work away around the difficulties Fords have had this season.
Well, they got to win at Silverstone in this Ford GT, and you're right, the Fords have struggled a bit. The BOP, you know, like we said, it's been sort of shuffled from what we saw last season, even from the pro and qualifying championships. It's been a bit rough for the Fords. They were decently competitive in that championship. But here, you know, it's been sort of some races they're really good, other races not so much. Their best rounds were definitely the first opening couple with Monza and Silverstone, but as we went to the tighter circuits and the more downforce demanding circuits like Spa, like Brands Hatch, like here at the Nürburgring, for example, they've really struggled. And Jake, I know you and I think you might find this somewhat sweet as well. Remember a preseason podcast we did where we predicted Team Redline not taking a top 5? They're MIA today, so that's official.
1-0.
1-0. Bring it on, Team Redline. Bring it on.
One thing I would say, though, is did you predict the champion and the top 3 correctly?
Well, we put Cora in there, that's for sure. Yeah. Then again, I didn't even get the graphics for that podcast correct as well. So I think beyond that, I don't think Jake and I predicted anything correctly, but we got that at least. At
least you gave it a go. That's the most important thing, right, Paul?
I'm going to be awarding both of them little medals that say "Well done for taking part." That's for sure. But I'm keeping an eye on this battle down in 19th, 20th, and 21st as well. Good little battle here between Evolution Racing Team, VRS Quantum SimSport number 8, and Next Level Racing TTLR Red. Joshua Rogers having to try and make his way back through after receiving that penalty earlier on, but. I rubbish at predicting things. I think we've all established this through this series this season.
Well, actually, you know what? I was looking at the same battle you were at the same time I was. Evolution Racing Team, Andrew Carl currently in that 19th place. Commander SimSports, Philip Stam there, number 8 in that 20th position. And then you've got yourself Next Level Racing, TTLR Red with Joshua Rogers in the 21st position. Of course, reason why Next Level Red are too far down in the field, well, they are down in P number 21, Jake, is because of the penalty they got given earlier on in this event.
Yes, and they got a 30-second stop and hold for overpassing half the instants that are there. They've got to be on a very close tight walk now between now and the end of the event, because after a 30-second penalty is a 60-second penalty, and then after that we could have the first disqualification in in the history of this new system being put in place. We've seen 60-second penalties before, but we haven't seen anyone go too far close to the end. But the fact that they've accessed over half of their points in just under an hour, that's a very worrying sign.
Yeah, and part of that...
I'm curious how they did that, because, I mean, this racetrack isn't really... It's not easy to rack up 1Xs here. There's not a lot of places
Randy,
you can really rack them up. Yes,
Randy,
sir.
if you didn't butt in and let me finish my point, I was actually going to say part of it could well have been because of the fact they were in what was a bunching mid-pack. And again, there was about 4 or 5 times in that first hour when a lot of teams really had to do what we call heads-up driving, react to incidents as they had to happen. I think part of that was bad luck, and part of that, we did see them trying to make some power moves, and as a consequence of that, I think they lost out, and it's that same thing we talked about at the 6 hours of Spa, the frustration, the keeping your head cool mentality. And because things weren't going right for them at the start of this event, I think that they forgot, quite frankly, about the fact that there is an incident point limit and started trying to do all they can to get positions back.
Could be. It's definitely an interesting one, and it's you know, if that is the case, I think that's a mistake they won't make again next season if they're around.
Yeah, as we've got then, they passed the Coanda team just a moment ago and have already pulled out half a second advantage over Coanda. That was down into turn number 1. Last lap, let's see what's going to happen this time by. Are they going to find a way past the Evolution Racing team car? Well, it's going to be from a long way back if they're going to do so. They are going to try and do it though. And that's 2 for 2 down at turn number 1. Next over Racing TTR Red, moving past the Evolution Racing team. One thing though, that sometimes happens, Paul, when you know a driver's been given a penalty and you know that there might be a 50-50 move and you're the team manager, you say to your driver, let them have it.
Yeah, you'd be saying to your driver, look, this guy is going to be on a charge here. Watch it out, and if he got the opportunity and he dives, just give him the space, let him go by, because he's obviously not going to be in a happy mood and more likely to get involved in an incident again. So Joshua Rogers is cleared that Evolution Racing Team car, and I know Brenton wouldn't like telling people to move out the way, but certainly would have been informing his driver of the circumstances of Joshua being there.
Yeah, as we have only one driver classified as out of this event so far. That is the Radicals Online JRT machine, Ricardo Castrolido. They spent 22 minutes on pit road, looked at the car and thought, you know what, there's no point. Let's put it to the garage and say goodbye to our season. Next up, we're racing TTR Orange. Dylan Sharman behind the wheel of that car. Now, they had incidents early on. They are classified as 1 lap down. Everyone else, all 27 of them, are running, and they are on the lead lap. The driver who's running in 27th place is GT Ross. There you see him. That is the driver of Cristobal J. Lopez in an Audi. Audis really have struggled here today, though. They are currently 1 minute 39 seconds behind your race leader, Corson Racing Orange. Interestingly to note, though, Jake, it's going to still be about 10 laps easily before they're going to be lapped.
Yes, and the fact that they are still running around 1 minute 40 off the pace, doing 152s compared to the 151s of Frederick Rasmussen. The fact of the matter is, Cristobal J. Lopez can focus on just driving the circuit. He has been involved in a few incidents. He's one of the drivers in the VLN who does have all the pace, but sometimes doesn't get it in all the right areas in terms of his battling capabilities. But that's the thing. The Audi has been the machine that has been the furthest down the order all season, and maybe the balance of performance changes for next season, especially with the prancing horse that will be joining for 2018. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming up next season, and I think that with a good choice, GT Ross will be up there and will be scrapping out for the top 10.
Yeah, as Pink Power Racers and Samuel Lieber right now having a little battle with PRT Blue. And the gap's come down actually pretty dramatically over the last couple of laps. Last time by, it was a 6 tenths of a second advantage Pink Power Racers had over the Pure Racing Team Blue car. Into the chicane they come again. Don't want to overcook it too early. Now into Coca-Cola curve. And you'll probably see if there is going to be a move to be made. It should have happened down into turn number 1. But really, I would say, Randy, they completely messed up that final corner, did Pink Power Racers.
Yeah, it wasn't a good exit there for the Pink Power Racers at all. So they're not. It's you know, not going to be what they quite would have wanted in regards to working with this Pure Racing Team Blue car, and well, turn number 1 isn't much better. But I'm monitoring this lead battle, and since the pit stop, Frederick Rasmussen has not only has been unable to re-stretch the gap back out, Vendaval and Juan Lopez has been closing in on that Core Sim Racing orange car by about a couple of tenths per lap. So that Vendaval BMW has found a bit of speed on this second stint. Both cars on the same strategy, just took fuel only at the last stop, and that gap, which was about 20 seconds before the pit stops, had now stabilized at about 14 and is coming down in the way in favor of Vendaval.
Yeah, but you got to remember the fact that Core Sim Racing Orange spent another 11 seconds on pit road. That's another 11 seconds worth of fuel to tug around the racetrack. Vendaval will be on pit road earlier, and then Core Sim Racing, again, this comes back down to the fact that they will be able to do longer on this stint, less time on pit road later on, short stint for Isaac Price. I mean, if you're brave and you're Isaac Price, you could probably go out on the same set of tyres.
Could do, but I don't think they will. I think they'll just take the safe call. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're Core Sim Racing Orange, as much as you'd like to win this race, you don't have to win this race. Because they had to finish, what, P25 in order to have this championship guaranteed, and you know, only 29 cars today. That's relatively easy, well, for them at least, not for me for sure, but as long as they keep it on the island, Freddie could basically park that car for a minute and they'd still have this championship locked up. Yeah, and of course this is our favorite of all of the helmets that we've got going on this season. This is the, I'd call it the Lego-esque helmet there of 1E Lopez, last time by 27 1/1000ths of a second faster than the team of Core Sim Racing Orange, as they now work themselves on their 11th lap of this stint, and also the 40th, it is the 47th lap now of this motor race that they are working themselves on. Getting close to 1.5 hours then into this event here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. It's time for us to take a quick break, but don't worry, we will be taking you RaceSpotTV side by side, and we'll be back in a few minutes' time.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways, so the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack, and then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
Two rounds remain in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it'll be at this track, maybe, that we see Martin Kroenke take the championship. It might be at Circuit of the Americas, who knows though, we'll find out. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, of course, is preceded by RaceSpot Race Day with the Formula Renault Sim Cup as well as the RaceSpotTV Super Cup. So check out, for more information, visit RaceSpot.tv. RaceSpot.tv, the home of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Also, pleased to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that we will be covering the semi-finals and the finals of the World Cup of iRacing, and we're also proud to announce that our broadcast fee for that broadcast will be donated to 2 male mental health charities, one in the United States and one in the United Kingdom as well, furthering our commitment to supporting sim racing around the globe. The World Cup of iRacing returns to RaceSpotTV, and that will be, get this one, Jake, the 8th year. Not the 8th year, so I take that back. The 6th year I've been a part of the World Cup of iRacing.
Yeah, the World Cup of iRacing is one of the pinnacles. It's been a stalwart for year on year on year, and you know, over the years it has seen some of the greatest drivers come up to the forefront. I mean, let's talk about what happened last season with the Finland team. A fantastic drive from them, but it was a star-making performance for Joni Takkonen. And what reward did Joni Takkonen get just a month ago? He got the big promotion move to VRS Coanda SimSport. This World Cup of iRacing, it creates stars, so it is worth investing your time in. Yeah,
we just saw the fact that you've now actually got a PRT sandwich going on with Pure Racing Team Blue, Pink Power Racers, and Pure Racing Team Red in P number 8, 9, and 10, respectfully, on track. And just behind that is Jeremy Booterloop in the number 18 machine. So we have got a couple of little battles going on. We're right on board with the driver of Jeremy Booterloop and that number 18 machine. And for those of you wondering, well, is Jeremy Booterloop the only driver to be in that car today? The answer to that one is yes. He's been in there all day long. He is now on his 2nd stint, and of that stint, he's now done 19 laps, Paul.
Certainly has, and working away in 11th place, not doing a bad job at all, but I'm sure they won't be pleased with that. They'd be wanting him to be further up the field than that. It's been an interesting race so far. You've got that mixture of strategies going on here, which we're still waiting for everything to sort of pan out, but +6 positions for VRS Quantum SimSport number 18 car so far today's race.
Right, let's do a reverse through the field here today. It gives us an opportunity to talk about some of the drivers at the rear of the field who we haven't had much time to talk about. We're going to start them with P number 28. The reason for that is 29th place is Radicals Online JRT Ricardo Castrolido out of this event. So that means that we have got ourselves Next Level Racing TTLR Orange, Dylan Sharman. He's the second driver in that team car here today. Third driver, actually, because Jake Maloney started this event. I believe there must have been some form of an issue. Madison down. What's up, Paul?
Bruno De Carmo's around. He's just had an incident at the chicane. Just having a look whether he's done that on himself. Yes, he's done that all himself. Went into the chicane, carried a little bit too much speed, and around he goes. He's able to get back up and running again. But I believe he did lose one spot in that one.
Yep, so there is Bruno De Carmo in the iRacing Brazil team. There's a replay coming up for you right now as he will head himself down into the chicane, and we'll just ride on board of him. Little spin, waits for a car, puts it into gear, off he goes. Actually reverses, waits for another car, off he goes. So that is the driver of the iRacing Brazil team and Bruno De Carmo. But let's go back then to the bottom of the field. Dylan Sharman scored one lap down this event today, Randy, but it's not been right since lap number 1 for them, because Madison Down, of course, had that moment down at, I believe it was Ad Van Bogen. Never a good time to go off track, but also, you know, lots of gravel trap, got some damage to that car as a consequence. They've not been the same since.
Dylan Sharman's gotten into that car, and the pace just isn't there. Madison down throughout his entire stint, 52s, 53s, and Dylan Sharman's gotten in. He's not gotten down under a 54 at once, and his lap times are fluctuating by as much as 5 to 6 seconds at some point. So either something's not right in that car, or Dylan isn't as well prepared as he maybe should be. But it's not been a good day, and not going to be a good end of the season for that number 91 machine.
Yeah, just ahead of them is GT Ross SST. We talked about them a little bit earlier on. They have done a driver change. It's Cristobal Lopez behind the wheel. They are still scored, though, there, Jake, on the lead lap right now, with the driver of Lopez about, I'm going to say about 9 seconds away from being lapped, but they're only losing about a second a lap.
Yeah, it's only a second a lap, and they're doing enough to keep themselves, you know, at the same pace as the drivers in front of them. So it's no disrespect to what they're doing. The only issue they've had is maybe they haven't got the right vehicle. Maybe they'd find 3/10, 4/10 if they went into a different machine. Of course, you're locked into the machine that you choose at the start of the season, come what may, dependent on, you know, how the vehicles choose. So, you know, it doesn't work at times for certain teams, and that's why we do see fluctuation from season to season. I think this season, more than any other, has had the big changes because, of course, last season McLaren were absolutely nowhere. Yeah, indeed so. Today, Audis are the ones struggling the most. Up into P number 26 is the Evolution Racing team at number 27. Riley Preston behind the wheel of that one. He's been the only driver in this car here today, but again, not a good day in the office for them, Paul, really. They're on their second stint. And just having a look at the lap times that they've done here today, and they are 6 tenths per second slower than their fastest lap that last time around, but it's just not been a good day in the office for Riley Preston. I think there's a bit of damage as well on that McLaren.
Yeah, he's been often dubbed the unluckiest man in sim racing, and well, he had an incident on the second lap. He ended up being around at the chicane at the end of the lap, which caused him to lose, basically fall back to the back of the field, and now it's just been a case of trying to fight his way through, and unfortunately at the moment it's not happening for him. He is struggling for pace. He's only, I say struggling for pace, he's only about 6 tenths of a second slower than his ultimate fastest lap, but quite frankly, in a field of this strength, it's just not up there at the moment.
We've got ourselves Jacksonville Core Motorsports running in P number 25. Now, this team did take tyres on their pit stop. Moritz Luna is behind the wheel of that car right now. That is the second driver in that team after Angela Michael. We did see them move up a couple of places in their first stint, Randy, but they're one of these teams that are just having to ride it out now and see where they'll be once the other teams take tyres on their second pit stop, and they should be able to go no tyres to the end.
That's sort of been the situation this second Heinz World Core Motorsports car has been in all season long. They've not really had the ultimate pace, so a lot of it has just been getting trapped into the midfield and trying to work their way through it with a bit of strategy, and they've done a decent job thus far. Angelo Mickel, though, I am surprised to not see him a little bit further up the order. We know that he knows this racetrack. Last season won the Sim Racing Expo competition, so we know he has good pace around this place, but I think just not a great run from them overall. I think the BOP didn't favor their car choice, and I don't think they really liked the car choice either. Once they really got into the depth of the season, I think they would have preferred something else that suited to their liking for both teams.
Yeah, and also a little bit of damage to the front end of that car, just highlighting that one for you as well. So they run in the 25th place for the time being. Move yourself up into P number 24, and that's the MSP Phoenix Racing car. And we haven't actually talked about this team at all today, Jake. And Julian's in behind the wheel of the car. Gregory Tanton's the only other driver to have touched it here today. They, again, 19 laps into a stint, they took tyres and did a driver change on their one and only pit stop today.
Yeah, they did. And MSP is a team that's very good. But in terms of being a very good team, there is a difference, Will, between a very good team and a great team. And to be a great team, MSP have to be challenging more. They have to be getting those big results, finding those extra 2-3 tenths of a second, because they can do very well in VLN races, and we've seen it all the time where they're always up there, always looking top 1, top 2, top 3. But when you come to here, you can only manage P24. You know, you do need to find a little bit more. They need to work on their team. They are very bloated in terms of what they have. A lot of mixed ability within MSP Phoenix Racing. And Will, I think they actually do need to slim down for 2018.
Yeah, I can agree on that one. Or put another car into the field and make sure you get the driver dynamics working. The two-car teams, for example, Evolution Racing Team is another one of them. Andrew Carl behind the wheel of that one right now. He has been in this event all day long, but interestingly enough, did take tyres on that pit stop, Paul. And that's going to make it difficult when we then talk about what happens when you do the driver change. Is the new driver going to stay on the old tyres, or are they going to put another set of boots on that one?
To be honest, looking at this, I would possibly keep them on that set of tyres and just take the half a minute hit then with the change of driver and full tank of fuel. That's what I would do, just to then push myself back up the field, because quite frankly at the moment 23rd is not where you would expect this Evolution Racing Team drivers to be with Andrew Carl. He's certainly shown that he's got the pace this season. Of course, he had that result at Monza where they did a no tyre stop.
Yes.
And, you know, so they did something that not a lot of teams thought about. And it certainly proved that it worked from that day. And again, this is a team that's on the up. They've been signing a few drivers up from other teams and tapping their team to really develop it. So I think this is certainly a development year, and they're going to be pushing forward for the next year to then try and take it to the next level and keep on pushing up like that in stages to eventually get to the top of sim racing.
We just saw off screen, by the way, Inex Racing Blue are now ahead of Koanda Sim Sports. So they're up into P number 11. There is a battle going on between Pink Power Racers, Pure Racing Team Red, Inex Racing Blue, and Koanda Sim Sports, all in the same kind of postcode right now. But the issue is that the Pure Racing Team Red cannot find a way past Pink Power Racers team, and there's a lot of, you know, just having to try and find the right moment that we've been seeing quite a lot in the first stint of today as well. Up one place to Marcus Lenderman to Koanda Sim Sports, and Koanda Sim Sports, Marcus Lenderman, the only driver in that car here today. But for Koanda, I mean, this is what you talk about when you overbloat your team sometimes, Jake. They've got 3 cars in this field. The number 1 car really hasn't performed that well all season.
No, it hasn't, and it's surprising seeing the sorts of caliber of drivers that they have. Remember, this team got a victory in fact, at round number 2 at Brands Hatch, and this has been the up and down season. Yes, they've had Klaus Kavekis, yes, they've had Rens Broekman, but today with Marcus Lenderman, it's not working for them. And this inconsistency value that's being brought in with this BMW, which won the championship by a solitary point last season, I didn't predict such a bad turn of form for this machine. I thought that they would be up there, they would be scrapping, and it's showing. They are being humbled by other BMWs in this field. You talk about Radicals, you talk about Vendaval, all doing a very good job at this stage in time. And I don't know whether it's, you know, the fact that there is complacency values of being one of the best teams, if not the best sim racing team in the world. I don't know whether it's a fact of they can't commit time to it. I know Marcus Lenderman does get very busy from time to time, can't always commit to the vehicle, but you look at Coanda and you think this is a team that should be up there challenging for a victory in every race they enter. And this simply here today is not the case. It's the first time, I think, in history that we're not going to see a VRS Coanda SimSport machine up inside the top 10.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time if it's ever happened. Just ahead of that #1 machine, you've actually got the battle going on between Apex Racing UK and Coanda SimSports #8. We're going to start, though, by having a look at the Apex Racing UK machine. Antoine Hegelin is the only driver to have driven that car, but again, Randy, another team to have taken tyres in their first pit stop.
Yeah, they of course went to that strategy, and it's just been an eventful day for Antoine Hegelin, and in all honesty, I've not seen it be his fault. We've seen Antoine Hegelin get into a number of incidents, and at no point have any of them really, you know, come from him. He's gotten punted a couple times, spun around, and you see the fenders on that team pretty much all bent up all the way around, but it's not been a great season for these Apex guys, and this is a team that is sort of a big question mark, I think, going into next season. They've lost a lot of drivers through this year. A lot of talent have left, and you know, for those who might be curious what I'm talking about, you go to the Apex website, they don't even have a "this is our drivers" list anymore on their website. They have lost a lot of their weapons, and I fail to really see how Apex can come out swinging next year unless they somehow make some big signings. I think it's going to be a similar to what we've seen from Radicals this season, a 2018 for Team Apex in the GT category, a year of development if they don't just ditch it altogether.
Yeah, but of course the Apex Academy is still going to be pumping out drivers, and actually what they need to be doing is looking inside, building up more drivers through the Apex Academy and making sure that they can then keep hold of them once they transition up into the main team. Just ahead, Philip Stam in the #8 Coanda SimSports car. Philip Stam is one of 2 drivers to have run today. David Williams is the other one. They did themselves a 55-second pit stop, which means actually this is likely to be their short stint here today, Paul. And that's going to be very interesting because they might lose a couple of positions once the next pit sequence comes through.
Don't forget, this is the team that had to pit at the end of lap 1 as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're a little bit out of sequence, really, in this one, and a little bit out of position because of that as well. So it's going to be a interesting one. They did qualify in 18th, though, so they're pretty much in and around where they qualified in that VRS Coanda SimSport Mercedes AMG. But definitely, they're under pressure at the moment from Antoine Hegelin, who we've seen have that bit of extra pace, but as we've been saying, getting caught up in a few things. But Philip Stam, steady away, looking at lap times, keeping in sort of like that high 51, well, low 52s really, has been sort of the majority of the times, with a few 51s thrown in there. So he's been consistent, which is part of the battle anyway with endurance racing. Is being consistent. He just needs to just have that little bit of extra pace on top of it, just that extra half a second on top of that, just to get him on pace with David Williams from earlier in the stint.
Yeah, just to give you an update, there are still battles going on for P number 9, 10, 11, etc. on track. This is still where it was with Pink Power Races, NX Racing Blue, Coanda SimSports. Worth noting that Samuel Lieber has lost about a second to the rear of the PRT Red car. PRT Red car found a way through and actually now is right behind his teammate, the PRT Blue car. So despite all the things we've been talking about PRT here today, Jake, you know, they have at the moment got 2 drivers inside the top 10. Neither of them took tyres, but they did do very long pit stops. So actually, this could well be, I think, at least 2 inside the top 15 come the end of the event.
Yes, and I think that would be very good from where they started today. The 2 pure machines, they haven't had the best of August, shall we say. We've got all the all the exits that they actually had from their team as well. They had their own little mini exodus, but they've responded very nicely. They've still got the majority of their core still in their team. Still got the likes of Beneke, Howler, Venig, Volmeyer's been in the machine as well. They are still proving that they've got good results, but in comparison to where they were about 2 months ago, where they were challenging very heavily for race victories, having a race victory at Silverstone, you have to wonder, is this area, this Blancpain Championship, the only fortress that they need to conquer to prove that they are a really good team? Because they can do it anywhere else. Maxim Beneke is one of the few drivers who has 9,000 iRating.
Yes.
They've proven that they are some of the quickest drivers in the world and some of the fastest, but when they come to here, I don't know whether they're choking, whether there's like something like the yips or something going on, but they just can't seem to hook up a championship winning vehicle.
Yeah, that's worth noting. NX Racing Yellow, by the way, they're in 19th as we continue to work ourselves reverse through the field. Phil Diaz started in that car, handed it over to PJ Sturgis. Not the best day in the office, though, again, for NX Racing Yellow. And again, sometimes, Randy, I do wonder, maybe with the likes of Sturgis in particular, you know, time commitments, especially when you consider as well things like the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And again, it's been a tough year we've got to consider for PJ Sturgis on a whole.
Yeah, it's not been a great year from PJ. He suffered an injury racing in real life, suffered a pretty significant concussion, and because of that, it's been sort of a reforming year for him. It's good to see him in good form, at least running decent in this NX Racing Yellow car. Didn't qualify, so they're up 10 spots, but it's good to see PJ out running, you know, consistent times, couple tenths off the leaders, but he's running consistent, he's running clean, and he's running strong. And it's going to be good to see him, I think, come back next year and hopefully, you know, get really, really big, and hopefully see him get back in a real car as well.
Yep. Just then up into 18th place, and we've got a battle going on here actually. Thrustmaster Ravana Yellow with Next Level Racing TTLR Red and Jim Racing Black. And again, Jim Racing Black are the team that seem to be struggling a bit. It's also just away from your screens, I've just seen that Phoenix and, in fact, yeah, Phoenix and Triton side by side there, and Triton just overtaking Phoenix Motorsports to move themselves up into 13th place on track right now. So that's the situation going on in 13th, 14th place, move Triton up one position. It's time now, Paul, to talk about the Jim Racing Black situation, the kind of elephant in the room of today, because no matter what they've done, they've always seemed to have people right behind them. This time, Joshua Rogers, and of course in the Next Level Racing TTLR Red car, the car with the penalty, but then also Thrustmaster Ravana Yellow with Stefan Mushela. This is the driver who's been in the wars, and actually, just look at that down at Dunlop. Next Level Racing is free. Yeah,
absolutely, and yeah, we'll talk about the Thrustmaster Ravana Yellow car. Got involved in that incident at the Coca-Cola curve towards the end of that first stint with the Apex Racing UK car, and sent them around. So they've been in the wars themselves, a few ambitious moves, shall we say, but they're there, they're in 18th place, they're battling away, they've got Jim Racing in front of them, but they qualified 12th. The down positions for the day so far, 57 second pit stop last time. They're on their shorter stint, so you would be expecting them coming into the pits very soon to get their final full fuel and full fuel stop. Maybe not tyres, but certainly full fuel next stop for Thrustmaster Ravana Yellow.
Jim Racing Black, of course, did change drivers on that last pit stop as well, as Koana Simsports have just brought Philip Stam on towards pit road. So for Jim Racing Black, they now are in a case of hold on. I'll be very interested to see what will happen once this all settles down in about 15 to 20 minutes time. Then just having a look through, no one else is committed to pit road inside your top 20 just yet, but we will see some drivers soon. Next Level Racing TTLR Red, I would say actually, Jake, I mean, despite the penalty, they're not doing badly here today, are they?
No, and Next Level Racing have proven over the year.
Wait, can I just stop? I've got the right Next Level Racing. This is the team that did have the penalty, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Red had the penalty, Orange didn't.
Good job, Will. Top of the ball.
But anyway, Next Level Racing have been there. They have shown that they have something in the tank, that they can go out and get some very good results, be it through Joshua Rogers, who has been very good as one of those drivers who is surprisingly young for his age. You got the likes of Jared Filsell, who's always been doing very well. You got Madison Down. And in terms of Australia and what they do through the likes of V8 Scops and areas like that, they're second to none. But when it comes to trying to branch out and trying to prove themselves on the international stage, I think that this has been a good learning year for Next Level Racing. I think they can improve and can do better. It's a real challenge between them and Evolution Racing Team to see who is going to be the battle of the best. And I think that Next Level Racing surprise a lot of people from time to time, and I don't think they get the credit they deserve.
Yeah, and they are those 6.5 seconds behind Thrustmaster Movano Red. We're now kind of more into the teams that didn't. As oh, by the way, Pink Power Racers side by side with VRS Coanda Sim Sports, as they'll come through turns number 2 into turn number 3. This is Power Racers, I believe, making a mistake. So I'm going to just replay this tape a little bit, because I believe they were ahead of both of these drivers. They must have made a mistake. Yeah, they did make a mistake down into turn number 1. So let's have a look then from our up above camera. And what happened was, is NX Racing Blue went down to the inside, and then actually kind of like, you know what? I want to go for it as well. So they held themselves around the outside through turn number 2. Then into turn number 3, then into turn number 4, and then actually they did end up getting the position. You can just see there, Coanda Sim Sports and number 18 VRS colours, getting the move done. Pink Power Race just taking a wide line through that final corner in the Mercedes-Benz Arena to enable that to not be as difficult a situation as it could have been otherwise. Just got ourselves a Movano Red, Fabio Gonzalez, Paul. I don't think we've actually talked about this car all day long.
No, we certainly haven't. It's one of the few Audis in the field here, and he's just been driving around on his own, as we've got a few of the leading teams coming in. Vandevil Sim Racing White and Radicals Online Steel Series from 2nd and 3rd and 4th. So that's pit stops phase with them. Fabio Gonzalez has been in the car all race. He's been very consistent. 52s, high 51s towards the end of a stint. It's been consistent. We've not really spoken to him about him much. We've not really seen him much in this race.
Yeah, we've got ourselves 2 drivers on pit road then. This is Vandevil Sim Racing White. This is important. We've got a driver change going on, as it's going to be Santeri Kunkanen getting in behind the wheel of the car. This will therefore be their long stop, and they will be taking fuel and tyres. We've also got Radicals Online Steel Series, a power-led one, getting in behind the wheel of the car, taking over from Alexander Mania. 2 important pit stops then, just before the 2-hour mark, Randy.
That indeed, and Santeri Kunkanen, we're going to see him get into the car for the first time. We're expecting this to be a full stop. So I think for him, going to be fresh tires, of course. And how will Santeri push? His teammate had a phenomenal first 2 hours of the race. Can he bring it home and get them on the podium?
Out and away he goes. Of course, the first one we want to check. Well, we won't be able to check it just yet because Jim haven't come in for their second pit stop. But where does this team come out? Well, the good news is then for Vandevil Sim Racing White, it's in clean air. Look at the clean air that they've got around them. This is fantastically timed, because the first car I can see is just now exiting turn number 5. And well, if you want to talk about good timing, good precision, that is it perfect there for Vandevil Sim Racing White. They can just put their head down and turn some laps. In terms of the, what's the car I was looking for? The Steel Series car, the Radicals Online Steel Series car, they did complete their pit stop in 1 minute 9 seconds. They are out just ahead of GT Ross SST, who haven't yet made their second pit stop, Paul.
They certainly haven't, and Pavel Ledwan now behind the wheel. They did come in from pretty high up, so interesting to see. They are currently about 17 seconds behind that Vandevil Sim Racing White car as iRacing Brazil team. Bruno De Carmo coming onto pit road, so that's the next one on for pit stops, and this will be a driver change as well for the iRacing Brazil team.
Yep, so they'll into their pit stop. Expect Bruno De Carmo to get out of that car. In his place, we are going to get ourselves, mini drum roll please, Neto Nascimento in that number 75 machine now getting in behind the wheel of that car. For iRacing Brazil team, it will be a full service with tyres. We'll catch up on them in a moment's time. We just had a couple of other teams that we were going to talk about, Randy. Ruby Tequila, because of some of these pit stops happening, is now up into P number 11.
Yeah, he's moved up with some of these pit stops on Rupe and Phoenix. It's been sort of a questionable year. We've seen some questionable driving from Rupe in the past this season. We saw that incident at Zolder where while he was a lap down, he kind of injected himself into a top 5 battle on the last lap of the race. And Phoenix just seems to be a team that tends to just continue to struggle with these GT3 cars. They tend to not have the motivation. It seems like they flock to some of the other vehicles. We've seen them be really strong in some of those other series and other cars, even dating back to before New World Sim Sport merged with them, like the John Hall, John Fuller, super good in the likes of the old Ford GT. But GT3 cars, they've not really flourished, and I think they, it's just dedication, or they just don't have fun in the car. Because looking right now, we're about 10 minutes away from this car coming down pit lane. This car has led a lap today due to strategy. Rupe's the only one on the server, so I don't see what's going to happen with Phoenix here today. And I think if you're TTLR, I think you have a pretty significant bone to pick if a driver comes in as the only driver on their team and puts you out of the race really early. Yeah, indeed. So Phoenix then, number 74 machine, running in 11th place. Let's give you an update on the team. Actually, no, we've got Core Motorsports in, Keiko Shribe, as well as Core Sim Racing Silver. So lots happening here all of a sudden. The iRacing Brazil team came up behind GT Ross SST, but ahead of Coanda Sim Sports. But now, this is, I would say, one of the biggest moments of this event. Core Sim Racing Silver, Jan Carew behind the wheel of that car. So we've got 2 drivers in. They're going to make themselves their full service hit. Actually,
wow.
I just heard a gear change. This could be very interesting.
Well, Keiko Shribe just did a 40-second pit stop. So they've not taken tyres, so they're doing basically be a no tyre strategy, won't it?
Yeah, but Core Sim Racing Silver are taking tyres because we just saw them drop down off the jacks there. So now they're going to get filled up to the end of this event. Expect this stop to be a little bit quicker than the kind of 1-minute 10s we saw earlier because of the fact that, of course, late on in the race, you need less fuel to get to the very end. But, of course, we've got to figure out where they kind of come out, for example, around the likes of who they're battling with earlier, Jim Racing Black and others. They are going to head themselves out of pit road any moment now. 107.5 second pit stop for them. Out and away they go. Core Sim Racing Yanakuri for the end of the championship.
Jim's at the hairpin.
No, Jim, don't forget, hasn't made a pit stop yet.
No, right,
so.
I know, but I'm saying that's the gap.
Yeah, but it's worth noting that Core Sim Racing Silver do come out ahead of iRacing Brazil team by about 16 seconds. And at the start of this event, at the end of hour number 1, they were pretty much in the same piece of real estate. So it's been a very, very good middle stint there for Core Sim Racing Silver. They built 12 seconds, Randy, over iRacing Brazil team.
Yeah, that they have, and keep in mind that iRacing Brazil team, they had that mistake going through the chicane, that bit of a half spin that cost the bulk of that time. I think overall it's been a good run from that iRacing Brazil team, and their pace seemed decent. I just think that one mistake is what cost them the bulk of that. Otherwise, they'd be about a second or 2 behind. Yeah, good point to make there, actually. iRacing Brazil team might actually rue that mistake, that spin, because I think it cost them about 8 or 9 seconds, as Evolution Racing team right behind MXP Phoenix Racing right now, both on the same strategy. So we're just going to go quickly on board with Evolution Racing team. Number 27, Riley Preston, both in McLarens. Does look as though that Evolution Racing team might have the advantage here in towards turn number 1, but can they slot it down the inside? The answer is going to be they're at least going to give it the half attempt, but they don't commit to it in the end. It does, though, push the MSP car a little bit wide through turn number 1, but it looks as though they'll stay where they are for the time being. We're now into the last 56 minutes of the season. Core Sim Racing Orange are 32 laps into their stint, so we do expect them to come in, I would say, in the next few laps. Jeremy Bootsloop is 34 laps into his stint. They surely should be coming on towards pit road in the next 2 to 3 minutes there, Paul.
You would imagine so, yeah. That Mercedes, it depends on what sort of fuel usage they get out of that car and how kind he is on that throttle pedal, because, of course, you can do a lot to save fuel in this car. Lift and coast into corners, change fuel maps as well on that one. But, yeah, I think they'll be happy to get him into the pits, if nothing else, to get a new driver into the car, and 2, a nice clean windscreen as well, because it's looking a bit filthy in there. Yeah, let's have a look back then to Jeremy Bootsloop. Is he going to come on towards pit road this time by? No, he stays out and does another lap. So this will now be the 35th lap of the stint for them.
And as we were just talking about, Jake, every time that you do a lap now into this final hour, you make it easier in terms of how long your final service is going to be. So when we talked about the 42-second pit stop for Core Sim Racing Orange, the 42-second pit stop for NX Racing Red, the 42-second pit stops for both PRT cars, and for Pink Power Racers and for Phoenix Motorsports, this is now where they come into play. They could gain 5, 6, maybe 7 seconds depending on how long they can run into this final hour.
Exactly, and getting those extra seconds can be so crucial between now and the end of the race. I've been keeping an eye on Kei Kashube as he's been making his way through, and he's had copious amounts of traffic, and there's more copious amounts of traffic in front with the forms of Joshua K. Rogers, Sebastian Dunkel, and Stefan Mouchelaar, who all need to dive down onto the lane. But crucially enough, he's only doing 152 flats as well, so Kashube, with the old tyres, not making anything happen right now, and that's the worrying sight when it comes to this one, because with all the other vehicles that want to come down onto the lane, that need to come down onto the lane, it's about where do you find yourself in comparison to the likes of Core Sim Racing Silver, who are coming across the start-finish line right now. They've got to hold on between now and the end of the race for position number 2, and they've got themselves about half a lap and old tyres. Yeah,
and it's worth noting that Kei Kashube is 8 tenths of a second slower that last time by than his faster lap. So it will be a case of they most likely will lose performance in the middle of this stint. Keeping an eye out still on the same teams we've been talking about. When are they going to come in towards pit road? Well, Commander Simsports are doing that just now. We said 2 to 3 minutes, Paul. We were right. 2 to 3 minutes indeed it was for Jeremy Bootsloop as he now comes onto pit road.
Yep, right on cue then. So end of 35 laps for this stint. And it will be a full service, you would imagine, with them changing drivers as well. So Bootloop down onto pit road. His teammate Jorn Jens is going to be ready, waiting to take over from him here. And be interested to see where they come out of the pits now on that one, as Thrustmaster Movano Red come onto pit road as well for their final pit stop of the season. Feels strange saying that it's the end of the season, but it is. It's the final pit stop of the season. Yeah. We're nearly at the end. We're in the last hour.
We've got another penalty, Jake. This one is for Evolution Racing Team number 27. 30-second penalty for incident limits.
Leaders in the pits.
Yeah, leader in as well. That's Riley Preston then, who will take that penalty. Unluckiest man in sim racing. Well, it's happened again, hasn't it? He's the unluckiest man in sim race. He gets a penalty there. But now Frederick Rasmussen in. Now we expect the driver change to Isaac Price, potentially Santeri Kalunki either as well. So for Frederick Rasmussen, the final stop had a big gap, and will be looking to try and make everything work, looking to hit that box ace perfect, and has hit that one like a dream.
Yeah, and actually I would say that's probably about 4 or 5 minutes earlier than what I was expecting because of how long that previous pit stop was, but it shouldn't be an issue at all. Isaac Price is behind the wheel of that car, and all will change in a couple of moments' time. Key things to watch over the next few laps. We are expecting Jim Racing Black, Sebastian Dunkel on towards pit road in again the next 3 to 4 minutes. We go on board of them right now. Now this is important. For those of you just joining us, Jim Racing Black, they were second place for a large part of this event. Then they fell back a couple of positions, but led a train of drivers. It'll be very interesting to see what will happen and where they feed out, because they did take tyres on their second pit stop. So we expect them to go tireless for this final stop here today, but there should be a driver change. The graphic on your screen, actually no, there won't be a driver change because Sebastian Dunkel's behind the wheel, took over from Dodo Udpak at the end of that first stint. But still, that's the challenge that we've been looking at, Randy. We want to know where Jim Racing Black will be in comparison to the likes of course, the Silver Core car and others.
Yeah, well, actually, Jim Racing right now is just ahead of Isaac Price. Granted, you know, number of teams are still, like you said, waiting to come down pit lane. So race leader comes out in a bit of traffic, but still waiting on these guys to come down pit lane to really get an idea of where everybody is. And I will say something that's really interesting here, Will. We have Isaac Price getting in the car, and if memory serves, over the course of this season, we've not seen anyone except Frederick Rasmussen and Isaac Price drive this car. That could have consequences for the other drivers they have signed up, because I believe the rules state you have to do a race over the season in order to maintain your license.
I think
so Frederick and Isaac are okay. Have they waived? I'm not so sure. I'll have to look through.
I'll have to go and have a look myself. But Isaac Price, yeah, one of the 2 drivers that's taken part in that team this season long. It was a 1:04 pit stop. So as we say, they're going to be a few seconds shorter than what they were for the drivers that did their full service at the end of the first hour, as NX Racing Red now lead this motor race. Jack Sedgwick, as he'll just put a lap as the official leader now. Pure Racing team in 2nd place, 3rd place Wenning, but these are the teams that did 42-second pit stops from their first attempt.
I was going to say the important thing is Sam Cattell coming onto pit road. This is a battle for championship. It's between him and also the Core Sim Racing silver car, who have had their final pit stop. So it's going to be interesting to see where this iNX Racing blue car comes out of the pit stop phase. I'm just trying to find where's that silver car. It's coming into the Dunlop hairpin now, so they've got basically half a track between them and one of their championship rivals, and Justin Brunner is getting back into that iNX Racing blue car.
That's fascinating. There's going to be lots of fascinating moments happening in the last hour, 49 minutes of this championship. Just having a look though through, you've got also Evolution Racing Team number 28 on pit road. You've got Commander Simsports number 1 on pit road. Triton Racing on pit road. Jim Racing Black on pit road here, Randy.
And this is what we really want to see, is where does Jim come out in regards to everybody else, and who is that getting away? I believe that's NX Blue. Yes, it is. So Justin Brunner, quick pit stop for him. But what about everybody else? We see Triton. They're going to jump Jim Racing Black here. Let's see what other cars we see come cycling through. Who else are we looking for? Core Sim Racing Silver coming off the final corner. And where is Jim? Jim is still at their box, still at their box, still at their box. And Core moving down the front straightaway at a rapid pace. They jumped him.
Yeah, we did think that was going to be the case, and actually the gap will be interesting to note because Jim are still on pit road. 44, 45, 46. They're taking tyres here, and they did a driver change, and they're taking tyres. Jim have just thrown their chance at the top 10 out of the window completely here this afternoon, and that is our first big shocking moment of the day. What we've still got is, I'd say, about 10 drivers who still need to make their 2nd pit stop of the day here. But it's also worth noting that Core Sim Racing Silver aren't as high up as I thought they would be. Take it away, Paul.
Jack Sedgwick coming onto pit road then for NX Racing Red. Missed his pit stalls, had to reverse, so that's going to add a couple of seconds onto his total pit time on the line, and Yoni Tamala getting back into that car, so a driver change for NX Racing Red in this final pit stop.
Yep, so there we can see they are still on pit road. In fact, as let's turn our attention to 2 drivers who haven't yet come towards pit road, PRT Red and Phoenix Motorsports. 35 laps scored complete in this stint by PRT Red and Phoenix Motorsports. Well, they did the longest stint of anyone in that first of the round of pit stops, and well, at the moment they are 34 laps into a stint, so these guys can go long at the very least in these 4 GTs, longer than anyone else. Mivana Yellow on pit road. What's worth noting though is, as it stands, despite all the changes that are happening, we are still expecting to have the same drivers out front, and this is Isaac Price then. In terms of how things are going on, the gap isn't actually that big because of the fact that Kei Kashyub took tyres, didn't take tyres, and they haven't taken tyres, Core Motorsports, all race long. What is worth noting, though, is the last couple of laps. That last lap, 0.8 of a second slower, was Core Motorsports and Kei Kashyub over Core Sim Racing Orange there, Jake.
Yes, and that is so crucial. Kei Kashyub brings the vehicle up into 2nd and has a big gap now in 2nd position overall, but crucially Isaac Price has the fresher rubber, had the buffer to make that happen, and now can just slowly inch away from Kei Kashyub, and I'm not sure what Kei can do to really take this victory. It was a gamble that had to be done, but at the end, something that happens. Eva Howler now onto pit road for Pure Racing Team Red. You look at anyone else who may decide to make the jump in the near distant future, Phoenix stay out yet again, so now Phoenix hold the overall lead right now, but of course they've got to make that stop, and between them and what is going to be victory right now for Isaac Price, well, they've got themselves a lap for the title. They've got themselves about 5 seconds right now in terms of advantage over Hoyksingveld. I think, barring any lap traffic doing some misdemeanors, I think there's a title here.
Yeah, indeed so, unless something bad happens. In fact, they need to be P number 25, so there is still only one driver scored 1 lap down. It is worth noting that will become 4 drivers scored 1 lap down once this all sorts itself on. So long as they can make it onto the final lap, they will win the championship because of the way that things would work in the event that there was a breakdown on the final lap of the motor race. Core Motorsports, number 66 car, they are in 4th place right now, but they are yet to have made their second pit stop. NX Racing Red, when things cycle through, will be in the 3rd place, Vendavel Sim Racing White in 4th place, PRT Red, then PRT Blue, then NX Racing Blue. And actually what this does mean is NX Racing Red move themselves up into 2nd place in the championship. The thing that we were thinking about maybe happening, and Corson Racing Silver having a fantastic middle stint, well actually, Randy, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it just, you know, kind of a rough middle stint for them, but I will say I was getting some confirmation on a rule, and with the help of one of the drivers from Coanda who looked through the rule book, that rule is still in effect. For Corse Sim Racing Orange, it seems like they're just choosing to just take Frederick and Isaac in this car into next season. The other drivers that signed up will be losing that license. That said, they could go through on the qualifying, and you are allowed a certain amount of roster changes. I believe you can swap in 1 driver before you have to requalify the team. So maybe they're just planning a bit of a driver swap, roster swap next season. But from there, who knows? Is Rupi Turkla, he's on pit lane. He's the last car we were expecting to come down pit lane. So Corse Sim Racing Orange will re-inherit the lead. That Phoenix Ford will lead its 2nd lap of the day. And, well, that's going to basically be it for the end of them, as no one's connected to the server yet to replace Rupe. So we might drive it to the end, but they will be disqualified by the end of this.
Yep, so what we've got right now is Vendavel Sim Racing White. And what will now move themselves up into, just wait for the drivers to tick through, up into 5th place versus 4th place now, versus NX Racing Red in the 3rd position. As down to the inside goes Vendavel in the last 45 minutes of this event. And again, smart move there, some would argue, because after all is said and done, Paul, this still means that NX Racing Red are ahead of Blue in the championship. What you don't want to do is have a 50-50 move that potentially throws your entire 2nd place in the championship away.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen how Vendavel Sim Racing White have been aggressive on the brakes into that first corner as well. I think all the way back to the start of the race, they put a move down the inside into turn number 1 at the start like that. So they're definitely they're confident on the braking there, and that's a good move then for them up onto the podium positions.
And behind NX Racing Red, this is where things get interesting. PRT Red and PRT Blue, kind of out of nowhere, Jake. Now 5th and 6th in this event. I'm keeping an eye out, though, on the blue of PRT versus the blue of NX, because the gap is 0.7 of a second between these 2 drivers. And I'm also just trying to work out how much work Justin Brunner would have to do in the last 42 minutes of this event to take 2nd place back in the championship. Well, he needs to gain, I would say, 4, 7, 8 seconds and pass 3 drivers.
8 seconds isn't too much. It's the passing that's going to be the big difficulty in comparison. Tamala's last lap, 1:53 flat. Comparison to Brunner, he was a full second quicker, and he's caught Jonas Vollmeyer heading towards the chicane here of NGK. So Brunner, he's got to channel his inner self into play. He's got to bring this race back into a situation where he can make his way into this. And I think for 2nd in the championship, it will take making some moves, but the crucial factor is it's 2 teams going at it together, battling for 2nd, and I wonder whether we'll see any form of multi-21.
Yeah, and also, just again, another team that's just kind of appeared here in the last hour of this event. Phoenix Motorsports, I said maybe top 15. Actually, they're in 9th place with Rube Tequila. Of course, they are going to be disqualified because of the fact that they haven't done a driver change, so just scrap that one out the window completely. You've got behind Ping Power Races, Simon Povey, Powell Ledwin. They're going on for 11th and 12th. That's one of the kind of battles that have come back into play here. NX Racing Blue versus PRT Blue. You can see all the different lines right now that Justin Brunner's trying to do, Paul, over that number 71 car.
Yeah, he's desperately trying to get past, isn't he? He wants that position. He's looking to the inside of Dunlop, and do you know what? That was Jonas Vollmeyer saying, go on, you have it. I don't want to have an accident. We're in a good spot here compared to where we were at the start because, well, look at that, Pure Racing team. Started 20th and 24th for their red and blue cars respectively, so this is a really good result for them if they can keep it up here in the top 10.
Yeah, and they actually, good thing is now for NX Racing Blue is they've got 4 seconds to catch up to PRT Red. If they do that, Randy, actually, they are only 2 seconds back from where they need to be to get second place back in the championship. So, for NX Racing Blue, it is power time.
Yeah, you need to push really, really hard right now if you're Justin Brunner, and that is exactly what he is going to do after getting himself around Jonas Vollmeyer coming through the chicane and now into the final corner. I think we're going to see some of the fastest laps of the race that NX Blue car has put down all race long.
Oh,
we got an issue.
Yeah, MSP Phoenix. They had an issue. I think they had a slowdown penalty at the Schumacher S, and they've just gone and planted the NX Racing yellow car into the wall, coming back onto line.
Replay then coming up for this one right now. And again, we've seen 1 or 2 silly mistakes today, but this is going to be the worst of all of them because that is NX Racing Yellow out of this event. And what a poor end to their season. Replay on board with PJ Sturgios in the NX Racing Yellow car. And we've got another thing worth talking about potentially in a moment. No, we haven't. We're okay on that one. But here's the incident. Sloppy driving at the very best is what I can say there, Paul.
It's not what you expect at this level, you would think. And yeah, definitely not good. But we have got a few interesting things coming through now, Will.
Yes, we have got many interesting things happening in the last part of this event. By the way, Evolution Racing Team number 28, right behind Hawks and Velcourt Motorsports. And this is a freeway battle 15, 16, 17 on track, but the number 1 team has a penalty. So Klaus Kivikas there. This is very unexpected, Jake, from a Commander team ever. So never do you really see, Jake, a Commander team serving an incident limit penalty.
No, you don't. And Simon Feigl as well for the Evolution Racing Team 28 will also take that same penalty as well. Instant points over 50%. Thank you. You're going down for a trip onto pit road. And this is the thing. They've been in this big scrap here towards the end of the field. You've got iRacing Brazil. You've got Evolution Racing Team, Hoyts and Velcourt Motorsport 66, and that Commander Simsport number 1. They've all been battling together. And, you know, it has been difficult all race long. It has been a tougher track condition than what other track conditions have been, and it's not to say it's excusable, but when you're the reigning champions, you can't afford to make mistakes. And Commander have been humbled this season. I think they haven't done enough to elevate their game. They thought that they're at the top and will stay at the top, and now they've got to work hard. And it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how many drivers you have in your machine, you've got to go down and serve penalties. Feigl will take his now, and I think Kivikas will take his a little bit later.
One other very interesting thing to note, graphic up on your screen right now, Beneke has closed up 2.5 seconds over NX Racing Red in the last 3 laps, and he's now right on the tail of the NX Racing Red car. Difficult thing is here, Paul, is the fact that Beneke's in a Ford compared to a Mercedes, but Beneke could make this second place in the championship battle even more interesting. He gets past Joni Tormala, then all of a sudden it's red versus blue in the championship, and the gap between these 2 drivers, the 2 NX cars, is down to 3.7 seconds.
And you know what? We've seen how aggressive that Beneke can be with his driving over the years of broadcasting several series, notably the VLN series, especially last season. I tell you what, if I was Joni Tormala, I would be wanted to defend, but at the same time be wary of any rash moves or anything like that. And here he goes. He's looking to the outside. He's not going to make the move here. He's going to wait. He's going to try and set himself up for the exit of the next corner, Coca-Cola curve. And that's where you want to get that run. Use that Ford grunt down the pit straight, get the better line, get the run off of the corner, and then try and get the overlap down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen this time by. You can see it's about 2 car lengths in towards turn number 1. He's going to look down to the inside. He's going to go late onto the brakes. He's going to try and force the issue. NX Racing Red versus, they almost come together on the exit of turn number 1 versus Pure Racing Team Red. But all that's going to do is allow Justin Brunner and the NX Racing Blue car to come into play right now. And all of a sudden, in the space of 3 corners, that's 1 second wiped out. Remember, we had the situation at Spa, go slowly to go quickly. All of a sudden, NX Racing Red risk losing their championship simply because Blue are being brought back into this very, very quickly. And I think right now, Pure Racing Team Red, Randy, might hold the Joker card in this championship battle for number 2 in the championship.
I think you're right. Just the way this fight is shaping up, this is going to dictate who finishes P2 and who doesn't. NX Racing Red, you know they want to retain that, especially after last season. They want to try to finish as high up as they possibly can. But NX Racing Blue, they didn't have a great season last year earlier. Just, I believe, 1 podium on the year, and basically overall, it was just that NX Red car that was the strongest, most consistent. This NX Racing Blue car has really swapped that, and you know that everyone in the NX Racing Blue roster, likes of Brunner, Aloma, Cattell, drivers that are currently on that team, you know they would love to get a good result here today and bring home second in that championship, and Brunner is pushing hard.
He is pushing very hard. The gap down to 1.4 seconds. That's going to be a gap of 2 seconds gained in the space of 1 lap then. So, you wanted a grandstand finish, you're going to get a grandstand finish. For second place in the championship, it will come down to the last 35 minutes worth of racing and contact between the two of them as they work themselves then out of Coca-Cola corner towards turn number 1 again. What will happen with Beneke? I think he is definitely too far back this time by. But now you got yourself 3 drivers separated by 1.5 seconds as they start another lap. And look at that, 1.8 seconds faster Justin Brunner was last time by compared to those 2 drivers. Jake, business has picked up.
Oh, in the words of good old JR, you certainly think it has. And now Justin Brunner thinks, I've got Beneke in front of me, who is incredibly quick, incredibly angry. If I make a move, will he make a move back on me? But he sees Tamala, who is running 153s out on circuit. That suggests to me that the tyres have not really been changed all race long. That's going to be something Ivo Howler, though. That's Pure taking a 30-second penalty for knocking over the incidents, and that will release Beneke out of the way and give a clear shot now for Justin Brunner to attack his teammate Tamala.
Oh, this is going to be fantastic now in the last few moments of this race. Things are changing and happening every single second. And this is what the Blancpain GT Series is all about. But for Justin Brunner, how long do you wait? Do you attack now, or do you just let the situation evolve for the next couple of laps? And then, how are you going to make your move over your teammate? These 2 drivers test with each other all the time. They know each other's strong and weak points. What are you going to do when you get into that situation? 32 minutes remaining in the championship for 2017, and this has been absolutely fantastic to watch. The key thing to note, though, really, Paul, is that when it comes to a dogfight, you're more likely to have a situation where Justin Brunner has the advantage in terms of raw speed as Beneke comes onto pit road to serve his penalty.
Yeah, there's been a few other penalties getting dished out as well, so the officials are being kept very busy here. And, well, down in towards turn number 1 now. Brunner, he's got his sights set on that second place in the championship. He wants that, and well, the teammates, they've got to follow that basic rule of being teammates. Don't take each other out, because there are other teams that can still get that second place. So they've got to fight, but fight fairly.
Yes, Justin Brunner, though, has closed up 3 tenths of a second on this lap alone. 4 tenths of a second on this lap alone as they come through turns number 6 and 7 on track now. Just releasing down towards the hairpin. I'll tell you what, Brunner is close enough if he wants to make a half move down to the inside.
It's NX Red. They've got a 30-second penalty as well.
Oh, my word. So NX Racing Red, this might drop them down to P4 in the championship because they'll fall well behind Corsim Racing Silver. The key thing is we've lost what could have been a fantastic battle here, Jake, between these 2 teams.
And that was the eagerness happening from Pure Racing Team. You have to remember, Tamala was holding on for the championship. He couldn't afford to let anyone else go through, despite the fact he was a second and a half slower. And it's that matter of fact for Joni Tamala, who has been known to get into more incidents than the average driver, that they have to serve that penalty and they have to drop out again. It's still Inex in position number 2 overall, but it's not the Inex machine that Inex would have wanted to take that position number 2 overall, and that's got to be something that is going to be kept in mind. I wonder whether there's going to be any changes at the top as they look to transition into a GT3 team now, rather than a Formula 1 team, Will.
Well, this has really hurt the battle for what we're going to have for the last part of this event. But what we need to do now is keep an eye out on Core Sim Racing Silver. And yeah, they are going to move themselves easily ahead of NX Racing Red. That's going to happen. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now. So Core Sim Racing Silver in P number 10. Someone's going to have to get the calculator out and work out where NX Racing are going to be after this penalty. I think actually NX Racing are going to be okay because of the fact that Frostmaster and Bavano Red, Core Sim Racing, they go past. It's getting closer and closer here. I think it's going to be very close, actually, between Core Sim Racing Silver and NX Racing Red. Coming back up to speed now is NX Racing Red. And I think they should just be ahead of Gym Racing Black. They'll be in P number 17, Paul.
Oh, I don't know, Gym Racing Black are going to go past. There they go. And there's also Next Level Racing, Jared Philsell. They're getting involved here as well. Of course, that's another team that's had a penalty in this race so far. So,
and Pure is right behind them.
And yeah. Next Level just actually tapped the rear of NX Racing Red through turn number 2. So, and it's just a team that hasn't taken tyres all day long, that's been doing 53s. Actually, they could end up losing more positions here, Paul, down to maybe P20, yeah.
Yeah, they could certainly do that. And, wow, what a day. It's, what a race it's been. It's been a race of, well, contrasting fortunes for teams. Some teams doing better than expected, and other teams just getting hit and hit hard. And that's exactly what's happened here with NX Racing Red and also the other teams that have got penalties. But the thing is, you've got to look at the bigger picture. How have you accumulated those penalties?
Yeah, not all of them have been done through incidents. And again, it is a no-fault system in terms of incident points for car-to-car contact. But the off-tracks, they are the things that will make the difference. We have still got a free-car battle going on. Phoenix Motorsports, Roop Tequila, Triton Racing, Camel Frantac, and Radicals Online Steel Series, a power-led one. They are scrapping it out for P number 7, 8, and 9 in terms of this one. Who's got the calculator? NX are ahead right now by 1 point, you say, Jake?
Yes, by 1 point. Of course, we have to remember that Rupe Tequila is to be disqualified from this event. This will push both of them up. That won't change the amounts of points that are there. So what's very crucial in this one is either Core Sim Racing Silver catches this group in front and decides to make a move, or you look at the likes of Next Level Racing trying to make a move here on the driver of Joni Tamala, and this is the issue. Tamala's got to go defensive for P3 in the championship. He does down to the inside, and they've both got to be careful. Philsell versus Tamala, both of them could be at risk of the 60-second. Huge twitch coming out of the corner, though, from Joni Tamala to the outside for Jared Philsell, and Philsell trying to hold it, trying to shove the man out is Tamala through the Mercedes-Benz arena. Hold it around the outside here at 3. You've got the inside for 4 to work. And you know what? I think Philsell's going to be able to get it. And you know what? It could be 3 wide. But Neke, I think that is behind. Yes, wants to make it here happen. He is on a roll. He is angry at everyone. He's going to slot it down the middle. And oh my word, Tamala makes contact there with Philsell. And look at that. Still, they're battling it out together. And he shoves and hip checks the driver of Beneke. This is fantastic stuff.
Oh my word. So there might be more penalties to come if people aren't careful. But all of a sudden, we are in exactly the same situation we were about 45 seconds ago. But there's been a lot of intensity since then. This is the moment when they went 3 wide into turns number 6 and 7. Look at this one. They made it work 3 wide for a moment. Number 92 Next Level Racing car gets pushed out wide first. Then the NX Racing Red car clearly, I would say, came across the number 17 machine in that one pull. And now in a situation, is there going to be more incidents?
Car just got a penalty. 30-second stop and hold for that TTLR car. That's separating those two. Or 60, you're right.
Yeah. So, Next Level Racing TCLI Red will need to do a 60-second penalty. That will give NX Racing Red a little bit of breathing room, but Beneke, he's going to be furious after that incident. And now Beneke, he is going to be about a second behind because he lost a bit of time as he had to wait for Phil Sell to cut across on towards pit road. The gap is 1.3 seconds, 25 minutes remaining in this event. And Randy, wow.
Yeah, just wow. These guys are getting really aggressive. NX, for what it's worth, NX and Pure, what put both of those cars over the edge was that contact with Pure. The same incident pushed each car over that limit. So these two are both going to be really frustrated with one another. I think most notably, Yoni Tormala not going to be happy with Max Beneke whatsoever. And I think that's why you saw that super aggressive move pushing Pure Racing Team off the track on the exit of corner, that right-hander. It's super aggressive racing right now, and I think Max Beneke, I think he was relying on that TTLR Mercedes to really hold up that NX Red car, and now that TTLR car is gone, I think Tormala should be able to maintain this gap.
Yeah, although if Beneke does get close up again, then we could be in for some fireworks indeed. Just to let you know, Corsim Racing Orange does lead the way right now. They lead it by 13.14 seconds almost over Hikes-and-Valcourt Motorsports and K Kashub. Let's have a look at K Kashub in that number 33 machine, and it is worth noting that Kashub again is going to now bring a podium to a car that we didn't think was necessarily going to be in the running after the first 30 minutes. They worked the strategy really well. They took no tyres in that last pit stop, of course. Vendevel Sim Racing White, they are back up into third place after all that calamity we've just had, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said earlier, didn't I, that Maximilian Beneke is an aggressive driver. He certainly proved that once again. But yeah, it's been a crazy. You can tell it's almost like an end of term feeling to this race now. You know, teams that aren't really, have not really got the greatest of things to fight for are now so going all out. Let's see what we can do, and push the limits, shall we say, and that's certainly what's happened there. But I tell you what, Triton Racing, try as they may, they can't get past Phoenix Motorsports, and Radicals Online behind. They're just sitting behind patiently. They're just biding their time. There's only 23 and a half minutes remaining in this one as well.
Yeah, and we've been focusing quite heavily actually on the fact that, you know, P2 in the championship, 4 teams, etc. What we forget, there's 2 other things worth thinking about here, Paul. First one, you know, there's prizes that go all the way down to P number 10 in the championship. But also, the second one, for some of these guys, they are racing to stay in the championship next year and avoid the hassle of going through the Pro Series.
Absolutely, yeah. Road to Pro, it's an unknown, because you can have some people come through that you have not known anything about because of the fact that you've been running in the GT Championship, and all of a sudden you got some teams that have been working hard, working on their crafting their teams around certain individuals and getting themselves promoted. All of a sudden you're out of the World Championship. You've got some other teams that have come through, as iRacing Brazil team are making a move on Thrustmaster Movano Red. Action.
Last 22 minutes of the season, it's all about action. iRacing Brazil team then up now into the 13th place, Movano down into 14th. Let's quickly turn our attention back to what is potentially going to be a fever pitch finish, and actually PRT Red has closed the gap back down to 0.7 of a second, Jake, over NX Racing Red.
That's not the battle you look at. You look at Core Racing Silver and how they are closing up second a lap over the 3 drivers in front. And remember, that Core Sim Racing machine needs to get past only one of them between now and the end of the event. But still, Joni Tamala must do everything he can. He can't close down Jim Racing Black. He's slower by 1.3 seconds a lap. And now, Maximilian Beneke knows that he's just racing for pride. He's racing because he couldn't make that P2 battle, but he wants to show just how good he can be. With P19, I'm not sure he's going to be happy with that, but with Core Sim Racing Silver, there is a very, very easy target in front.
He just needs one. He'll probably try and take more than one just to give himself a bit of breathing room, but drivers have been struggling to get past Phoenix Motorsports. In fact, Phoenix may well hold the clue to this championship, because no one's been able to get past them, despite the fact that Phoenix aren't actually doing much in terms of pace right now. Gap down to 0.8 of a second. Let's go on board for a few corners with Corsim Racing Silver and experience what could be a move for third place in the championship. This is RaceSpotTV Fan Immersion. Maybe something might happen down at Dunlop. I think Corsim Racing Silver is close enough to have a bit of an opportunistic move it would be over Power Ledwin. Of course, what we don't see is a number of incident points that these drivers have until they get a penalty. But here is a look downing towards Dunlop. No, not quite enough yet. But they all bunch up behind Phoenix. And actually, I had a mini heart in the mouth moment just there, Randy, because Phoenix is so slow through that corner.
Yeah, that they are, Rupi. Down through Dunlop, he doesn't seem to be very quick, and up through the Michael Schumacher S, he gets a little bit loose here. So, on that Triton racing car, going to look on the outside here through the left-hander, not going to be able to do it. Will Radicals be able to throw it back? No, and of course, Sim Racing Silver now comfortably in this four-car scrap as they head down this back straightaway through this right-hand kink. We have that super fast McLaren at the tail end of the line, going to be getting the super slipstream from the three cars in front. I don't think he'll make a move at the chicane. I think that's a little bit too much single line, too narrow. Actually, the Radicals BMW is offline, and that's going to hurt him, actually. That's going to open up a gap to Triton.
But it might give him enough to go one-on-one with the Radicals car on the run down in towards turn number 1. A bit of a bad line, though, through Coca-Cola Curve for Jan Carew. That might mean that he has to wait another lap. He has still got 20 minutes worth of racing to go as the four will come down in towards the Mercedes-Benz arena once again. But Paul, this is a case of now you've got to be careful in a very different way, as actually Mario Bertolotti there has had a big incident and he's just spun that car around. He's losing a position. I'm trying to have a look to see how much damage there is to that car. I want to replay that because actually a car going out of the race now will actually help, of course, in X Racing.
It's the slightest of touches. I'll tell you what, a VRS Quantum SimSport car was very close to collecting David Williams, who was almost collecting Mario Bertolotti, but able to carry on. He's not really got any damage to that car, so he's got lucky. It was the lightest of touches at that final chicane.
And they are 8 seconds ahead of NX Racing Red. NX Racing Red, by the way, are still being caught by Pure Racing Team Red. And for those of you that weren't with us 15 minutes ago, things got very intense between them. So we've got two battles now we're keeping an eye out on at the same time. One with Core Sim Racing Silver versus Radicals Online Steel Series, but also one that we'll pay attention to for the moment. This is Pure Racing Team Red and Beneke versus NX Racing Red and Yoni Tomara. What is the implications of this? Well, if PRT Red passes NX Racing Red, then the championship third place will go to Corsim Racing Silver. If Corsim Racing Silver get past one of the three cars that you see on your screen, then Corsim Racing Silver get third place in the championship. That's easy to understand, isn't it, Randy?
Fair enough to me. I think seems pretty straightforward. So these guys are going to have a good scrap here for the last 18 or so minutes of this motor race. They work through the Michael Schumacher SCC. Yoni Termala dips some tires on the right-hand side off in the dirt. Got to be careful. That curb can upset the car if you don't have it set up properly.
Sorry, Corsim Racing Silver, they've moved themselves up one place, and that is all they need to do for the time being. They are now up into third place in the championship, and it was actually easy when all was said and done. I'm wondering, I want to go back and have a listen to the engine though for Power Led One there. Let's have a listen. He let off. He allowed the driver to go past. So Power Led One was like, you know what? I don't want to have this battle right now. Radicals Online Steel Series just bequeathed third place in the championship to Corsim Racing Silver if things finish like this there, Paul.
It's crazy, and it's amazing how one thing. Oh, Pink Power Racers, they've had an incident at the arena. They've gone around all by themselves.
Oh, Coanda very close to them too.
Yeah. It's all getting a bit hectic here towards the end of the race, and the thing is, there's a few teams that have not taken tyres at all, and you could be seeing those teams really starting to, you know, we're in the back end of this race now, they're really struggling with those lack of tyre changes.
Yes, and this is what I'm thinking again. NX Racing Red are kind of on the back foot because they are one of them. And Beneke is still right behind. Let's have a look. And another pass that's only going to help Corson Racing Silver, who actually are right behind Triton Racing as well. So we've still got 2 battles worth thinking about. Here is Corson Racing Silver. This is down in towards the chicane. Nothing's happening just yet. What about at Coca-Cola Curve? I don't think so. Or is this going to be a power move? They tried to make the power move, but this will now set them up perfectly, I think, for a run down in towards the first corner into Mercedes-Benz Arena. Yanakaru does lose about 2 car lengths. The gap is currently classified as 0.2 of a second. No, not going to make a move there. Let's go back and have a look at Pure Racing Team Red versus NX Racing Red. And actually, that one's dissipated a little bit. Benake's lost himself about 0.4 of a second, Jake.
Yes, he has, but it hasn't stopped his anger and his aggression because he was weaving in the mirrors with Tamala saying, come on, I'm the quicker driver, out of my way, please. And it doesn't matter how much iRacing you have, you've got to make the move on circuit. It is for position. There are no pink slips to let you go through. So right now, you feel that Maximilian Beneke needs to get this good run down in towards turn number 1. He's within the draft. He'll have an opportunity if he sends one and slings one deep, which we know he can. Moves to the inside, but he breaks quite early in comparison. Can't make the move. Maybe contact, not just quite, but there was at least a piece of paper between the two of them right now as they head into the arena again, and no change is going to be between them. But look at Core.
Yeah, let's go back to Core Sim Racing Silver. This is like doing NFL Red Zone all of a sudden, as Core Sim Racing Silver down into, you don't really make a pass down into turn number 11 unless it's overlap traffic. Now down into One-Steiner Curve, turn number 12, but look how close Silver is. They made a mistake last time and tried to slide it down the inside into Coca-Cola Curve. Do so too early. Now you don't really make the move into Advan Bogan, but you might get a good run out of it. Corson Racing Silver actually are going to look down to the inside, then pull back into line for the moment. So things are as they are. If you call Corson Racing Silver, you've got to remember that one bad move might allow Radicals to go back past. Taking a wider line this time through Coca-Cola Curve. This will help them get a good run down the start-finish straight. The issue for Corson Racing Silver is Triton are still getting the draft over Phoenix Motorsports, but Corson Racing Silver already looking down to the inside, and they're not getting the same free pass that they had with Radicals online. Takes the wide line then into turn number 2, tries to cut back, can't do so just yet. 13 minutes to go there, Paul.
Well, we've got to remember also Triton, they're trying to get a top 25 finish in the championship as well. They went into this round in 23rd, so they want to get as good a result as possible to really secure themselves in that top 25. So that's going to be interesting to see just them working away, trying to keep in that top part of the championship. But Corsim Racing Silver, they're looking aggressive, they're looking fast here, they're on fresher tyres than Triton as well. You would expect them to make a move sooner rather than later, but as you mentioned, Triton, they're getting that slipstream from the car in front, and well, Triton, they keep showing the nose to Triton on that Phoenix car, and that's just allowing Corsim Racing Silver to then get closer.
Yeah, the battle going on behind. That is staying where it is through the Mercedes-Benz Arena. There was contact that time between the number 17 and the number 10 machine. That's about the 4th time they made contact all day, Jake.
Yes, and that is very worrying. They are rushing head first to 62nd Penaltyville, and they know that neither of them want it nor need it, but it doesn't really matter. Both of them are safe in the championship. It's about Inex and what Core can do, or if Core does something. Oh my goodness me, they almost took the back out of Triton, who let them through at NGK. My goodness me, Core almost sabotaged their season.
Let's have a replay. And this is Triton then, the blue car. And you just see Triton was trying to get off the... That reminded me, actually. Remember 98? Schumacher and Coulthard. Coulthard trying to do the right thing and almost costing both. Well, they did cost both of them a race, but that's almost what we saw there. Triton then down into P number 9. Now, Corson Racing Silver don't need to pass Phoenix Motorsports because Phoenix will be disqualified after the event anyway. Whether Phoenix will allow the championship contender to go past or not, or whether Rube Tequila's basically just turned off all communications to the virtual pit wall pull, no one knows.
Oh, I don't know, but he's coming under intense pressure now. And, well, we've seen Corson Racing Silver. They're keen, they're eager, they want to get as many positions as possible just to really secure themselves in third place in the championship. And do you know what? Phoenix are going to let them by here.
Well, I think now you can start rubber stamping third place for Corson Racing Silver. They won't get the 1-2 in the championship that they might have wanted, because NX Racing Blue are still scored in 4th place and they will take 2nd place in the championship. But now let's go back and have a look. This could be the exclamation point there for NX Racing Red, and what has turned out to be a disastrous race for them. Down in P number 18 in this event with PRT Red right behind them. And let's be honest, the gloves are off of these two, Randy.
That it is. I mean, these guys, they've not been playing nice for about the last 20 minutes. We saw a little bit of headlight flashing a couple laps ago from Max Benecke, and well, he's not very good down the hill, is he? Pushed a little bit wide to the right-hander now towards the Dunlop hairpin. Yoni Tormala is going to have a little bit of a gap they didn't have before, but Max has been doing a fantastic job to keep that gap down. The question's going to be, where is a move going to come? You know, a driver like Max Benecke, he's always going to look for an open door, and he's always going to go through that open door if he can. Question is, when and where will Tormala open that door?
Less than 10 minutes of the season to go. Let's ride on board with Maxon and Benecke then. Arguably one of a Hall of Fame driver, if there was to be one in GT Star Racing. Probably turned more laps in a Ford GT than many, many people here on iRacing. Benecke gets a very good run actually through Advan Bogan. He does that quite often actually, Jake. But then of course you come down, and this comes back to what Randy said earlier. If this was the Grand Prix layout, not the GT layout, we probably would have had more passes in this event today. But look at this actually, NX Racing, they get themselves squirrely through Coca-Cola. This now gives the opportunity for the PRT car to look down to the inside. It's going to be a brutal war of horsepower in towards turn number 1, but it's actually going to be now the exclamation point we were talking about. But now PRT going a little bit wide in towards turn number 1. Round the outside, NX will have to try, and I don't think that they give him a tap. That was very, very naughty there. Another tap. Another. I'm going to stop commentating for a moment because that was stupid. I'm sorry, that was stupid. Let's go and look at something else. Triton Racing, Phoenix Motorsports, P8, P9 pull.
Yep, and these two, they've been pretty close together. They were within 1/10 of a second of each other down at the Dunlop hairpin as well. And well, this is it's still. Triton, they've not been able to get past this Phoenix Motorsports car, and it's just keeping Radical's Online Steel Series car behind them as well. This little 3-car train has stayed together, even with the Corson Racing Silver car making their way through this queue of traffic. And well, Phoenix, they're determined to just stay ahead in the 8th place.
Yeah. Will, I know you didn't want to talk about it. I know you wanted to go away, but this could be big with what just happened. NX Racing Red just got themselves a 60-second stop and hold.
Deserved. Radicals Online Steel Series versus Triton Racing then. And I know there's been battles going on, PRT, I know tensions are high, I'm sorry. But if you want to make this like a real motorsports, you never deliberately hit another driver. Simple as that. For Triton Racing though, they are holding on to P number 9. And this comes back to what was being talked about earlier by you, Paul. The fact that they need a good points finish to make sure they don't have to go down the dark road of the Pro Series.
Yeah, and this is it. They're wanting. I think they're in a good position at the moment to be able to secure that place. They don't need to do anything stupid here, and well, they're in that 9th place. They should gain that position, enough a position up once the final checker flag comes out. But right now, you know, they can just sit there, but there's wanting to get past on track. They want to make that move on track to show their dominance and to show that, hey, hang on a second, we are better than you, Phoenix, and we will make that move stick.
Yeah, Triton Racing versus Phoenix Motorsports is still a quarter of a second. Of course, what's going to happen is in about 6 minutes and 20 seconds plus the last lap of the motor race, Phoenix Motorsports will be disqualified because they haven't made a driver change. This is a team championship, the first team championship in the World Championship Series on iRacing, and by the very nature of that, it means you need to have more than one driver. And I know there will be some people, Randy, who will say, but it's okay, he's not done anything wrong, he's running in P number 8, but by that same thing, you'll end up having one car team trying to do 6 hours of Spa all by themselves. One of them might well be Freddie Rasmussen.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and I actually wouldn't mind seeing something pumped in the rule book that says basically if you don't have a roster to be able to go to these races with a driver swap, you shouldn't be here, because it is sort of questionable with Rupe. You know, if he entered this race knowing that he would do it all the way through, is that right, and should that be allowed? I think that's questionable.
Yeah, indeed so. So we're now down to the final 5 minutes of the season. I know we've had some highs, we've had some lows, but one thing we've not talked about in quite a while is Core Sim Racing Orange, Isaac Price. And again, Isaac does get a bit of a bad rep at times because, you know, he's fast. He's punched his ticket to world's fastest gamer. He's not necessarily going to be as fast as Freddie Rasmussen. But let's actually have a look at the best lap of the day by this team. 1 minute 50.3. Last time by Isaac Price. And I can say now, just turn it down mode, 151.1. But Isaac Price, you have to say, Paul, I mean, he's the perfect teammate, really, for Frederick Rasmussen. He's got good pace. I would argue if we compare the lap times, lap on lap over the course of the season, actually, he's only about 0.2 of a second slower. Remember the whole stint we had in stint number 1 with the Frederick Rasmussen, when he was doing kind of 50.8, 50.9s? In a different type of track, you know, Isaac Price is still doing low 1 minute 51s.
Yeah, exactly. He's a perfect complement to Frederick Rasmussen. I think he's got that consistent pace about him, and it's good pace as well. By the way, Core Sim Racing Silver have made the move on VRS Quanta SimSport down at the Dunlop hairpin on this lap, so that's up to P6 for them. So Core Sim Racing in general, they're moving through, but that team of Price and Rasmussen has just been an absolutely perfect pairing between the two of them, and you know, it's worked out brilliantly for them in this season, and well, the deserving champions of this series. Touch wood, we've got three and 3/4 minutes left.
Something can still happen. Just to let you know, for factual purposes, the PRT red card did also get a 60-second penalty. This goes back down to the no fault limit that actually happens in such a way that drivers, when two drivers make contact, both drivers get 4 incident points. Probably a bit too complicated to run into with 3 minutes of the race still to go.
Oh, car spun in front of them.
Oh.
And that Movano Audi.
Yeah, Movano again. So they're having a horror show.
Yeah. But one thing you did just know is that Core Sim Racing Silver up into P number 6 now. They got themselves past VOS Quanta SimSports 18, who were going about 1.3 seconds a lap slower. They didn't take tyres in their last pit stop, of course, and well, fresh tyres in this last hour seems to be the way to go, Jay.
Yeah, fresh tyres certainly has given the advantage, and we have seen the incidents just fly up in the last few stages of the race with drivers on old tyres trying to hold back drivers on new tyres, just desperately clinging on to the end of the season. And everyone just wants that big result at the end, but there is just one consistency factor throughout all this race. It has been Core Sim Racing Orange. They have had pole position at every single race this season. They've done the pole sweep. They have put themselves in a situation where they couldn't be caught all throughout the season. And if you're going to stop Isaac Price and Frederick Rasmussen, please, you will have the vial of life and you will answer every question in the world, because I don't see how you beat them in this form. They're 23 seconds above everybody else, and that's including the fact that they stopped 4 tyres on that final stop when they already made a massive gap over everyone else. They've been perfect all season long, and with a lap to go when they cross the line, I think it is going to be a very big crowning moment for a team that has been in development for 2 years.
Oh yeah, indeed so. And let's not forget, a lot of people raised eyebrows when Isaac Price left INX Racing about 14 months ago to join Core Sim Racing. At that point, many people thought it was going to be a step back for Isaac Price in his sim racing career, but look what a difference a year makes in this series, but also in terms of sim racing. On to the final lap then of the final round of the 2017 Blancpain GT Series. And for Isaac Price, it's not just his crowning moment, it'll be the crowning moment for his teammate Frederick Rasmussen as well. Now this is a young team. Frederick Rasmussen isn't even old enough to enter World's Fastest Gamer that starts on RaceSpotTV next Sunday. Isaac Price, though, has punched his ticket. He will be in the finals of World's Fastest Gamer, and Core Sim Racing over the last year have established themselves as one of the big names in sim racing. It takes a lot to be classified as one of the best. In NASCAR, realistically, only 3 or 4 teams have been able to do that in the history of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. In terms of Grand Prix racing, it's always been the likes of Team Redline or the 3ID Stroke Commander Sim Sports team. For a while, we thought we were going to add INX to that list, but they faded halfway through the season. And that's the thing, you've got to make a season work if you're going to be classified as the best. Core Sim Racing Orange was a very different team last year. We thought at the start of this year, INX Racing would right the ship and really find a way of taking the championship that eluded them 12 months ago. But then, Core Sim Racing came along, and many people thought that they wouldn't be able to take the full championship. Frederick Rasmussen has been spectacular all season long. Isaac Price, some people haven't given him the credit he deserves. But as he now works himself through the chicane for the final time of the season, it will be Isaac Price who, after leaving INX Racing 14 months ago, takes the one thing they wanted at the start of the season, and along with Frederick Rasmussen, wins the 2017 Blancpain GT Series World Championship. It will be second place for Hikesonville Core Motorsports, but they're 25 seconds down the road. It's time for the burnouts, and they're well-deserved burnouts, well-deserved donuts for Isaac Price and Core Sim Racing Orange. INX Racing Blue will take second place in the championship, and then after a crazy final hour here today, it will be another Core Sim Racing car coming home in third place in the championship, and that will be Core Sim Racing Silver. There is INX Racing Blue. They come home, they take second place in the championship, and well, it's not the red team, but INX for the second year in a row claims second place in the championship, and now we just wait for Core Sim Racing Silver to round out your podium in terms of the championship. They only finished 6th place here today, but the last 45 minutes worth of racing for Yen Karu has been fantastic after we wrote them off with about 50 minutes to go. What a season it's been in the Blancpain GT Series for 2017, and this is a fantastic shot. What a moment for Core Sim Racing, P number 1, P number 3 in the championship, and how ironic you've got Coanda right behind them as the torch is passed from Coanda to Core Sim Racing. What a day and what a season it's been for Core. Paul, thoughts?
Absolute dominance is what I would say from Core Sim Racing Orange. Thoroughly deserved, and it's great to see their sister team as well, the silver car, get in there in the top 3. Fantastic result for both of the teams. We've worked hard at this one. They deserve those positions, and these guys, they will be celebrating on that one, but they won't be resting on the laurels either. They'll be working hard for next season to try and defend the championship next season.
A picture tells 1,000 words. First and third place in the championship. Jake, could anyone have predicted that back when we started talking about this series in March?
No. And it just goes to show the testament of what Core Sim Racing has been able to achieve over this last year. And Isaac Price came into the team, man, with the setup ability to take a good team that was Core Sim Racing and really turn them into a great team. The moment that they turned up on the radar was Imola last year, that race where Hikesonville Core Motorsports came from the back of the grid to second. But right now, it's all about Core. It's all about what they've done over this year, how they've unlocked all the talent that they have at their disposal and now how they are going to branch that into everything they go on to. Watch out for them also in Formula 1 next season here, Will. They have a stunning lineup looking to make some progress.
Yeah, just to let you know, another core car came second. That was Heisenfeld Core Motorsports in the event. One thing also worth saying as well, Vendaval Sim Racing White, you know, they put on a determined effort here today, and they deserve credit as well because, you know, they had a fantastic race here today.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I
after you.
Vendaval, I think, will they've done a fantastic job, not only in this championship but in others. It's been a bit of a breakout year for Vendaval, and they have been not only in this race but in this championship thus far. They've been one of the most consistent BMW teams through the second half of the season, which, you know, like we've said earlier, we predicted at the start that to be a Coanda trait, to see that #1 machine probably be the most consistent BMW given the experience they've had. But you talk about Coanda passing the torch to Core in this regard, you could make the argument that it's similar in some respects. Vendaval, they're picking up the torch perhaps as the dominant team in that BMW marquee.
Let's have a look at your final race results. As it's been a crazy day at the Nürburgring, that hour was incredibly crazy. But here we are, after 3 hours worth of racing. Core Sim Racing Orange claimed victory by 26 seconds almost over Heisenfeld Core Motorsports. Vendaval Sim Racing White come home in 3rd place. Keep an eye out for them next year because they are going to be fantastic. NX Racing Blue claimed 2nd place in the championship by coming home in 4th. And Pure Racing Team Blue, we didn't think much was actually going to happen with PRT today. Oh, a lot did in the final hour, but PRT Blue came home in 5th place. Then 3rd place in the championship goes to Core Sim Racing Silver by coming home in 6th place. VRS Commander Sim Sports in 7th place. Triton Racing, they should punch their ticket into next year by coming home in 8th place. Then Radicals Online Steel Series, they come home in 9th. And Heisenfeld Core Motorsports, the Mercedes other car, number 66, comes home in 10th position. Cycle on back, and it's iRacing Brazil team. They had themselves a penalty. Sorry, they had themselves a spin. They ended up coming home down in the 11th place here today. VOS Commander Sim Sports number 8. They come home in 12th place. Gym Racing Black never really worked out for them in the end. They were P number 2 at one point, P number 4 at one point. Middle stint really hurt them. Did the wrong strategy call. They end up 13th place. Then MSP Phoenix Racing, they are 14th when all is said and done. Thrustmaster Movano Red had themselves a couple of issues here today. They will come home in 15th place with GT Ross SST in 16th. JCL Apex Racing UK, a tough day for them. Alex Simpson brings home that car in 17th place. Then the #1 machine, the team that won the championship last year, number 18. Ironically, the car number they might end up being in 2018. The #1 car coming home in the 18th place. Frostmaster Movana Yellow in 19th, and then Pink Power Racers round out your top 20. This is where things get a little bit messy. P number 21, Next Level Racing TCLR Red, Jared Philsell had themselves some incidents early on. They recovered. 21st place, arguably the best they could ask for. Then NX Racing Red and Pure Racing Team Red had a 30-second penalty and then a 60-second penalty. Some pretty ugly racing between these two teams in the last 30 minutes of this event. And then Evolution Racing Team number 27, they are the last team classified 1 lap down. Next Level Racing TTLR Orange and Evolution Racing Team, they are the last 2 finishers. 3 retirees, NX Racing Yellow. Horrible incident down on the exit of Advan Bogan. And then you had yourself Phoenix Motorsports disqualified because of the fact they didn't do a driver change. And Radicals Online, well, they were out very early on. They're classified 96 laps down. We're going to take a couple of moments here on RaceSpotTV. Get yourself ready for championship interviews. That will happen in just a couple of moments' time. You're watching the Blancpain GT Series. We've got a new boss in town, and it's Core Sim Racing.
Watch Ernie, go, go, go. Car right, car right, car right, car right. Watch, damn it. Get ready. Dude, more heads up in that. Jeez.
Right on the back wing. Can he make it happen?
Yeah! Yeah! Push like hell. We gotta stay in front of these guys.
Both drivers on the push to pass. Contact in the pit lane.
All right, 60. Let that eagle fly. What do I do? What happened? Push here. Push hard. Let's go get this guy. Car outside. Through behind you. Control. Clear outside. Good job. Just spun behind you. I don't know if you got him or not.
He got out of it so hard. Look at these guys are all over the back.
Full throttle.
IndyCar.
He hit an outlap.
What's next?
Come and get the checkers, big boy. Oh, baby, that was good. He hit me. Inside, inside, outside, inside, outside.
2017 Verizon IndyCar Series. See what's next.
Last hour was awesome. What a racing there.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to post-race coverage here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. The good news is Alexander Voss has now just completed his interview, so that makes this post-race show just a little bit quicker. But it's been an interesting day, actually, Paul. I'm going to say the word interesting for various different ways. And with a little bit of hindsight, you know, I understand frustrations get a little bit high, especially when there is stuff on the line. There is money at the end of the day on the line for these drivers. And I think on one hand, you know, what a crowning moment for core sim racing. On the other hand, mini implosion over at NX.
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you what. I know we keep on saying it on the RaceSpot Race Day coverage that we do. You take the emotion out of racing. Don't let yourself get wound up by things. Don't get pumped up by things like that, and don't get yourself involved in stupid incidents, because it will cost you in the end of the day. And we've seen today how incidents have cost people.
And then Jake, we talked quite heavily about core sim racing today, but actually we made points also about Vendeville sim racing. We made points actually, you know, PRT when it got to it. I mean, at least the blue car had a good race. And actually, what I'm thinking about now is I can't wait for April 2018.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic to see these guys battle it all out again. And I think that there's going to be a lot of development over this winter. I think the silly season's going to be stronger than ever. I think drivers are going to be changing 4 teams, maybe. They're going to be involved in some heavy changes. I'm excited, because you look at what's going on with sim racing. You see that you've got teams that were nowhere 2 years ago developing and becoming major forces. You've got the likes of teams that were major forces of years past, the old guard stepping down to let the new guard go through. It's a whole new age of sim racing. It's the boom period now, and you have to feel that next season is going to be the one that really throws the cats amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, we have got, of course, a couple of teams here to talk to. First one of them is going to be Core Sim Racing Orange, the 2017 Blancpain GT Series champions. I'm going to start with Frederick Rasmussen. Of course, he ran the first 2 of the stints here today. And well, Freddie, it's been a fantastic season for you. You didn't win all the races. You came close. You're not quite in Martin Kroenke territory in terms of percentages. But overall, it's been a dominant performance for you guys.
Yeah, it couldn't really have gotten much better. 6 out of 6 pole position and 4 race wins. The only bad thing was just the disconnect at Silverstone.
Oh, we're in short answer mode. Okay. So talking about the race here today, qualifying, you set 2 fantastic laps, got the early advantage. Then your pit stop time seems to be a bit longer than other drivers. Was that just giving yourself maximum opportunities for the second window of pit stops?
Like many of the other teams, they took less fuel than us, so we just took full fuel, so that's why we were slower in the pit stop.
And then, of course, at the end of the day, you hand over to Isaac Price. Your work was done just after 2 hours in. How does it feel, though, to kind of have the championship wrapped up now after what has been a very tough season?
It's very nice to finally be over, to get the weight off the shoulders. Yeah.
Well, from Freddie to Isaac. Isaac, many people 14 months ago are questioning your decision to move away from NX Racing and join Core Sim Racing. Have you sent a message to them yet?
Well, I think we've been sending them a message all season that, you know, we're up there fighting for wins in the most competitive series in iRacing, and, you know, it's just been an amazing journey. But I mean, from my side, the most important part is to have fun, and I've been enjoying everything in the last 14 months, and without having fun, you wouldn't get those results. So, yeah.
You had some would call it the honor, some would call it the nerve-wracking situation of driving the final stint of the season. By that point, you had yourself the advantage over the competition, but what was going through your head with, let's say, 15 minutes to go?
To be honest, I wasn't sure what it would be like. Before the race, I was more worried about it than what it actually was. To be honest, I was just driving my own race, you know, trying to hook up every lap consistently. I was also asking about what's going on in the championship for our other team, because obviously we're quite a close-knit team, and it would have been great to, you know, get at 1-2 in the championship. Obviously that wasn't quite possible today. I'm not quite sure whether they're 3rd or 4th actually, but yeah. I mean, to be honest, my thoughts were mainly with the other team and just driving in autopilot.
Yeah, it was 3rd place, by the way. We think, subject to final confirmation, Core Sim Racing Silver should come home in 3rd place in the championship. But, I mean, what a year. How do you sum up this year for not just Core Sim Racing in terms of this championship, but Core Sim Racing as a whole and your sim racing career this year as a whole?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I joined the team, what I really wanted to do more than anything was to basically help establish a new team and fight up with the front against, you know, the top teams like NX, Coanda, Redline. I think we've done that, so I think, you know, our objectives have been achieved, and we haven't finished the year yet. Obviously, I've still got World's Fastest Gamer coming up later in the year, and you know, there's going to be Pro Series qualifiers. Hopefully we can help Freddie and some of the other guys in the team to, you know, really push on in the F1 side of things. I think that's really our goal for the rest of the year.
Well, as champions, I'm sure you both have a long list of people you need to thank for what has been an exceptional campaign for Core Sim Racing Orange. Freddie, I'll let you start.
Thanks to my family and the team. And of course the Segwit Discord. And I don't have anyone else to thank, I think.
Isaac?
Well, obviously Freddie doesn't feel like thanking me, but I'll thank Freddie.
I don't blame him.
I said the team. Are you not part of the team?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we find out that Isaac Price and Freddie Rasmussen separate as teammates.
That feel when Isaac reveals he doesn't feel as he's a part of a team on air.
But yeah, no, I you know, I want to echo what Freddie said. You know, thanks to the team and, you know, everyone who's been around me in the last, you know, year. They've been supporting me, and without all of the support that I've had from the team and friends and family and all that sort of thing, I wouldn't be able to, you know, enjoy racing as much as I do and without that, we wouldn't be here winning the championship. So yeah, I just echo what Freddie said, really.
Well, you do win the championship. Congratulations, Core Sim Racing Orange, taking the championship here today. And well, from P1 in the race, we did have another Core car come home in second place. It was just Heiksonville Core Motorsports, and we got Jake Sperry stood over there.
Mr. Alexander Voss standing here with me. Alex, you know, an interesting opening stint to your event. You had yourself in and around the mix. You had the likes of being stuck in the gym train, deciding to pit in early. Was it a case of having to come in that early because of everyone battling around and the fact that it was so, you know, tight between the top 10 at that early stage?
Yes, definitely. Our plan was originally to just keep the tires good and to manage some fuel economics, and yeah, basically to just keep it safe and don't risk too much with other cars and so on. And yeah, then we decided to pit early to make an undercut against the other cars, and yeah, it went out quite well.
But it certainly did end up in your favour come towards the end of the race. And, you know, you decided that you'd go for the no-tyre strategy from here to the end of the event. You ended up in second position with Kei Kashube in the vehicle. Do you feel that the race result was a return to form for the team, which they've maybe been lacking over this season?
It was a quite difficult season for us, I have to say, with a lot of technical problems and some other stuff around. At the end, I would say it's a result we are quite happy with. For sure, it's not like it was last year, for example. But yeah, we had a good finish at the end of the season, and yeah, we need to keep it going for the next year.
And heading on into next year, of course, 2018 seems to be a big talking point for a lot of people. What's the idea around Heiksonville Core Motorsports? Are you looking to strengthen your lineup? Are you looking maybe to work on finding a bit more pace? Is it that maybe the car choice wasn't exactly perfect this season? What do you attribute down to the drop in form between one season and the next?
Yeah, for sure, we need to discuss this after the season end. So right in the next weeks, I guess. I think the car choice itself wasn't maybe perfect for us. I mean, we were used to the Audi pretty perfectly, and yeah. All in all, I have to say we just need to improve a little bit. Not the driver lineup itself, but improve our organization and how we organize us for a race weekend and so on. I mean, the pace was good for the whole season. It wasn't far away from other Mercedes teams. Speaking of the Bob, I mean, it's quite difficult as always to compare against other cars who are driving other manufacturers. And yeah, I'm not completely unhappy with the result. So yeah, let's keep 2018 coming.
Let's keep it coming. But before we let you go, at the end of the season, shout out sponsors. Who do you like to thank from you as the representative for Heiksonville Core Motorsports?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Core Sim Racing. They did very well, really well deserved. As well to Vanderbilt Sim Racing for the third place here, and yeah, thanks to our sponsor Heusingfeld, to my teammates Kai and Niels, and to VTech. Thanks.
No problems at all. Alexander Voss from Heiksonville Core Motorsports, P2 on the day, P6 overall in the championship standing. So you could say there's a lot of pluses coming out of that one, Will.
Yes. We could be in a very, very confusing situation next year where we have Core and Core going at it for 1, 2, 3, 4 in the championship.
Oh, dear me. Can you make our lives any easier, please?
I could, but no. I think we should make things more difficult. Keep ourselves on the toes. So that's P1, P2 out of the way. Third place is Vanderbilt Sim Racing, Paul.
Yeah, third place, Vanderbilt Sim Racing, Wani Lopez and Santeri Kekkonen. And, well, what a race it was for you guys to end up winning that final podium position. One, you You were aggressive from the start, making moves, late moves in towards turn number 1 right at the start of the race. Then you were caught up in that train of cars behind Jim Racing Black. Just talk us through that first stint, because you were having to be patient in that queue of cars, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to be a bit patient with that train of cars, but at the start I wasn't planning on going so deep into turn 1, but I was looking a bit like in the mirror, and then all of a sudden I'm right behind Carlos. That was kind of unexpected, but on this track you have to be a bit impatient with the Beamer if you want to get anywhere.
And this is it, you know, with you know, talking through this race, you then sort of, with the strategy, were able to move forward in this race, and you know, just talk about the difficulties that you would have with the BMW compared to the McLaren and Mercedes that you were fighting against throughout this race.
You mostly want to try to find like as much clean track as possible with the BMW, because in clean air it feels like just have like really good pace, and it's like impossible to defend from guys behind, so you just want to be in your own zone driving. So I do that by switching up the fuel loads that you take on the pit stops or the tires or whatever.
And then Santari, you came in the final stint there, and looking at your lap times throughout that stint, very consistent. Only one lap that went below the 51. No, sorry, 2 laps that went below the 51. So you just had to do a job there today of keeping the pace up and just keep looking forward.
Yeah, well, the problem was that I was on 19 incidents from the first lap. I had 1 incident to spare when I took the car and decided to use that on the first sector on the first lap. So I actually gave up a lot of pace every single lap, which meant that I couldn't really push to catch score on the second place. But yeah, managed to keep it clean for the stint, and really happy to finish on the podium for the last race.
Well, that's it. Looking at the season as a whole, then you've ended up finishing in 9th place in the championship, just 2 points off of VRS Corner SimSport. How do you see your championship going as a whole this season?
To be honest, better than expected. It was, I mean, the goal was just to learn a lot. It was first season for all of us, so like initial goal was just to keep the license for the next year, and I think we kept improving race by race, and like for the last 3 races we've been right up there. Like nobody can touch Freddy, that's obvious, but pretty much everybody else is up for grabs. So it gives us confidence moving forward to next year.
Absolutely. Well, it is position number 3 podium spot in this final race, and anyone that you want to thank whilst you're here, we'll start with you, Santari, then we'll go on to Juani Lopez.
Thanks to Lopez, first of all. He's been doing the job in the quali and like the first stints for the last 2 races, and of course thanks to the team, Vendaval, and yeah, that's it.
Juan, anyone you want to add to that for thank for the season?
Hey, I guess thanks to all the teammates and to our background sponsor, Iron Fist Ergonomics, for hooking me up with very comfortable position for my driving. So thanks to them for the season. It's helped me a lot driving those 5 hours at Spa.
Yeah, you need all the help you can get driving for that long around Spa. Well, gents, well, thank you. Well done for the position 3 in this final race of the championship.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Got one more person to talk to. That is the team that came home 3rd place in the championship. Stood by Randy.
Yeah, I'm stood by with Maxime Pauly from Course Sim Racing Silver. And Maxime, well, it was a bit of an, let's say, overly entertaining first stint with you. Caught in that huge line of cars from about P3 on back, caught behind Jim Racing Black. How stressful was that first hour?
Yeah, it was quite a complicated first stint, to be honest, but very intense. Nothing bad happened. It was good racing, but my second stint was way better because I had fresh air and could just cruise alone, and it was much less stressful than the first stint.
Now, that said, you guys were, of course, scrambling to pick up some positions to guarantee yourself third place in the championship. And for those who were wondering how close it was, P3 and P4 in the championship were tied, and that had to go to a tiebreaker. So every position that Core Sim Racing Silver Car got was vastly important. And talking about that, I know from experience your focus goes from when you get out of the car from a driver to almost helping your teammate in any way. What were you telling Yanni Kuru as he was going through that final stint? Was he seeming stressed? Were you trying to calm him down? Or did he pretty much just have a cool head and was fine about it through that last hour?
To be honest, Yanni was very calm during his stint, and when we started the race, we couldn't accept such a good result at the end of the year, so I just say to him, just do your best and we will see what happens. We have nothing to lose. He did an amazing job and his stint was just awesome.
Now, going into next season, I know that there's going to be, inevitably some BOP changes, of course, in the off-season. A lot of testing yet to be done. But can we expect these core cars to be in the Ferrari, given how OP Freddy is in the GTE car?
We still don't know what car we will choose, but I think Frederic has shown that he's a top GT driver at the moment. Nobody can compete with him. So we will probably take the best car for us, and Frederic will still show his insane skills.
Well, thank you for joining us, Maxime. Fantastic season all the way through. You guys came in, maybe not a complete dark horse, but to come away third place in the championship and, scoop that for top 2 cars in the top 3 for the team. Phenomenal result. Before we let you go, any shout outs? Who would you like to thank?
I would like to thank the whole team. It was an amazing season and the whole guys were just amazing during the whole season. I would like to shout out to the Secret 2 for great support, and congratulations to Yanni because he's not here. He was sick, a little bit sick during his stint, so he's just chilling at this moment, but congratulations to him too.
Will, back to you. Yeah, indeed. So thank you so much to all the drivers that's talked to us. And well, let's get a little bit of reflection then before we go off there, Jake. 2017's in the books for this championship at least, and actually, despite dominance by one tip, the field's been very, very hard to tell at times. And I think, we can talk about balance of performance, the fact that some cars have certain advantages over others, but actually, the teams that have done well, the teams that show up and put on that kind of grit every single race.
Exactly. I'll tell you this right now, no red line cars inside the top 25. That tells you all you need to know about turning up and racing. So for those that do turn up and do race, points are there, points are available, and you will get yourself a seat into the next season's championship. If you are determined to make your team the best team in sim racing, you don't give up. You go out there and you go and you race and you try and get the best you can. If you can't do it, well, you work harder to try and make that happen. I think that's the message that sim racing needs to get across right now, which sometimes does get a little bit lost in the shuffle, and that's you work hard, you pay your dues, and eventually results do pay off.
Yeah, I completely agree. Paul, what about you?
Season as a whole, absolutely fantastic. We've seen some fantastic battles throughout the championship. I think highlight of the season was that last round that we had, and the incredible racing that we had there. It was unbelievable. We can't forget, some of the moves that have been made, and look at how close that championship is. The fact that we had the third place in the championship go down to a tiebreaker just shows how competitive the series is. And anybody's got an opportunity as long as they take it. And Core Sim Racing, NX Racing Blue, and others have all taken that opportunity, and they've ended up at the top of the field.
What about you, Andy?
I think it was a good year. I think there were big boots to fill coming from that first season. I don't know if it quite did that. Last season was very entertaining all the way through. To have the championship separated by 1 point at this same race in 2016. Going into next year, though, it's can Frederic maintain the domination he has, especially in qualifying? What will the balance of performance be like? Because we know there will be changes, and when that happens, what cars will we see strong? We saw the Audi strong last year, not so strong this year. McLaren's, you know, vice versa. Really excited to see what happens. Do we hope maybe get some new tracks and additions to the schedule? That'd be something I think that'd be welcome for everybody to see more rounds. Really just good season overall, and let's hope, you know, try to make it a better one next year.
Yeah, we were trying to get you a kind of visual look at the championship. So I'm going to have to do this, though, with my voice only. So Core Sim Racing then get a total of 306 points in the championship. NX Racing Blue, second place, 272. They were the big winners of the day in terms of that 4-horse race for second place in the championship. Commander Sim Sports, well, they are tied with Core Sim Racing Silver, but Core Sim Racing Silver get third place. Commander Sim Sports have to settle for fourth. NX Racing Red round out your top 5 with 253 points. Core Motorsports, Hikesonveld Core Motorsports in 6th. Evolution Racing Team, a great result by them, 7th place in the championship. Commander Sim Sports in 8th place with one of their teams. Vendevel, sorry, they're second of their teams. Vendevel Sim Racing White in 9th, and then Pure Racing Team Red round out your top 10. Worth noting, the gap between being in and being out of the championship for next year and having to qualify, 4 points. GT Ross SST just missing out. 27th place, that'll be Team Redline Black, having to do things the hard way for 2017, 2018 even. So that's all we got time for. Just before we go, a couple of shout outs, of course. First of all, to our graphics partner, And One Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. Also to ATVO, the graphics engine that gets our work done. And finally to Istvan Balau's track cams for gourmets. You can download those now from the iRacing forums. I want to give a quick shout out to all the people who, of course, been affected by hurricanes in both Texas and, of course, to come in Florida. Make sure you stay safe over the next couple of days. Also want to give a shout out to Beth Morins, first female commentator in over 30 years to commentate an NFL game on Monday. You go get them. This has been RaceSpotTV. This has been the Blancpain GT Series. I've been Will Vincent. All season long, you've been joined by Paul Smith, Jake Sperry, and Randy Cherneth. It's been a pleasure calling the 2017 campaign. We will join you again in 2018 for this series, but don't forget, World's Fastest Gamer, the conclusion of the NASCAR Peak Anti-Free Series, the conclusion of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the World Cup of iRacing semi-finals and finals, the Neo Endurance Series. So much coming your way. So just because this is done doesn't mean this is the end of GT racing, doesn't mean it's the end of top level motorsports in sim racing. There's still so much more to come. From all of us here at RaceSpotTV, you have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye.